Well. How we doing, everybody? How's it going, Xazi, however it is you say your wonderful name? Oh, we are going to be doing something, so exciting today, guys. I mean, gee willikers, I don't think I can barely contain myself in my excitement as we continue reading through the League of Legends wiki. Yay, yahoo, I'm such a fantastic reader and narrator, as you probably picked up from the last stream. But, as last time, as mentioned, the writers for the next Arcane Show are exploring Noxus, Demacia, and Ionia. So we will be going through the wiki, the lore of those regions, the characters or champions involved in those regions, much like last time with Noxus, so we can kind of at least see some of the options that these writers have to choose from for their next show, and the characters that may be involved. But of course, do bear in mind that much like with Piltover and Zorn, it's very much a small selection of the available roster, and then they just kind of create their own characters to kind of patch things up and make relationships between particular characters that might not make as much sense if they only used the champions, which, I mean, let's be honest, what amazing work they did in Season 1 with some of their original characters, right? Silco, what an incredible villain Silco was, and obviously something that they just kind of drew up themselves. What a tragic character Vander was. Now, of course, Vander links up with Warwick, but I mean, let's be honest. If you played League back in the day, like I did, I don't think anybody in a million years would have been like, yeah, this Warwick guy, yeah, he's a tragic guy, yeah, Vander, so sad. Vi's adopted father and Jinx's adopted father. Like, yeah, obviously they were just kind of coming up with things on the fly. Savika, another very cool character. So they'll probably be making a lot of original characters for their show, and kind of linking them up with some of these champions that already exist. And as we kind of found in the last stream when reading through Noxus, plenty of great moments in history for that empire where they could focus a story around, plenty of fantastic characters with interesting backstories for them to use and utilize for the show as well. And it kind of started to become a little bit obvious in regards to what I should say the most obvious storyline or thread they might be going down would be like a Demacian invasion, a Ionian invasion, maybe somehow setting it before Swain becomes the Grand General, and like you're following his rise to power through the first Ionian invasion, the setup of the Triforax. You'll get Darius's backstory through that as well. And then, again, you can have, like, Mal working with, as our POV character, working with Swain to go against the Black Rose Society. So you got a couple interesting options there. Again, they've set up Singed. I'm certain we'll see the Chem Bombs, or the Chem Bomb, happen, which I think would make an amazing end of an episode. Like you spend, like season 1, episode 1 to 3 style, like you spend a bunch of time setting up all these characters, say in Ionia, for them to get absolutely blitzed by Singed's Chem Bomb, with only, say, a few surviving, for example, and like you'd be able to set up how, I guess, like magical and sacred these grounds are for some of it to then be tainted by Singed's Chem Bomb attack. And yet, like, you've got characters there like Draven, who would bounce off well with Darius, being brothers, Arcane revolving around sisters. with Vi and Jinx. Maybe they do a little flippy whippy there and do Darius and Draven. And Draven, interestingly, with Draven's backstory, there's kind of a lot of... It's much like Jinx, right? Like Jinx's original character was very basic, like Harley Quinn with a Gatling gun, right? And when you're reading through Draven's backstory, it's all very basic as well. Like, he was a soldier and he was just really bored. He was so bored that he went to, like, basically like a gladiator fighting pit and stuff like that. So that in comparison to Darius's backstory, right, which is pretty fleshed out, has a lot of pretty interesting events, especially with his partner and their children, whereas looks like Draven has a lot more wiggle room to make interesting changes. But we're not talking about Noxus today. Well, we will be talking a little bit about Noxus because we're talking about Demacia and their rivalry. We'll see a bit of a rivalry there between Demacia and Noxus, and Demacian characters and Noxus, namely Garen and Darius, I would say. A fun little rivalry. Two big boys that like to scrap each other and almost have a bit of respect for each other. Darius doesn't hold much ill will to Garen, it seems, just thinks he's a bloody idiot for being so noble and everything like that, when that could be quite weak when it comes to Noxus and, you know, their ideals and ideology and blah, 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 blah. But one of the major things, at least that I remember without going too far into the lore, is that, like, Noxus, like, I think it's just like a great... it would be a great moment to see in animation or in live action, or not live action, but in a show where you see Noxus spreading their territory, just violently taking land with ease, stomping over all of these like smaller civilizations and empires, and then they come up against Demacia, and it's like the first time they get held back. I think that would be quite a fun little reveal for Demacia, especially for like who they are, what they stand for. My only hope is that there isn't, because like a lot of riders like to do that. Oh, you thought they were really goody good, but they're actually rotten on the inside, or oh, they're actually not so good. Hopefully Demacia is like a hey. We're the chill people, and we like fight for good and fight for honor and da 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 da. Obviously, as we go through the backstory of Demacia, we might see that there maybe is some rot on the inside there. But I feel it might be interesting for writers that like to play in the grey and make things not so black and white, at least for season 1. No comments on season 2 about that, but at least for season 1, they definitely played in the grey, and that could be quite interesting to have a force of light, quote unquote, in a world written by writers who like to again play in the grey. So, without further ado, let us dip right in to the backstory here for Demacia, and see if there's any interesting moments or events or anything like that that might jump out to us that would be quite an interesting thing to see covered in a show. Alrighty, just making sure that the screen is all lined up, that nothing's all cut off or anything like that. Alrighty. Now, let us begin with Demacia. So, much like with Noxus, we'll be going through the lore, or the history of Demacia, and then going through the backstory of the characters that are there, that are involved. Or at least the champions that are involved from League of Legends. So, let me just get my reading eyes, put my reading eyes in. I've got my glazing eyes on, I need to put my reading eyes in. Alrighty, so, Demacia, a strong, lawful kingdom with a prestigious military history. Demacia's people have always valued the ideals of justice, honor, and duty most highly, and are fiercely proud of their cultural heritage. But in spite of these lofty principles, this largely self-sufficient nation has grown more insular and isolationist in recent centuries. Now, Demacia is a kingdom in turmoil. So, interesting, because Ionia, of course, is incredibly isolationist as well. if they do Noxus, Ionia, and Demacia, you're going to have two isolationist kingdoms. That's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, I guess. The capital, the great city of Demacia, what a creative name, was founded as a refuge from sorcery after the nightmare of the Rune Wars, and built upon the riddle of petricite, a peculiar white stone that dampens magical energy. It's from here that the royal family has long seen to the defence of the outlying towns and villagers, farmlands, forests, and mountains rich with mineral resources. Okay, so Ancient Rune Wars, you've got all these mages rocking around, being absolute goobers, wanting to just destroy and take over the world. You've got characters, I believe, like Brand, who will just like destroy cities with his ulti. He just sprints in and clicks R and then ultis a whole city. Not great, but it looks like Demacia at least have this petricite mineral that dampens magic, so that might come in handy in the future, especially if, say, you had a robot arcane boy that was trying to take over Runeterra and turn everybody into beat-bop ballerinas, right? That might be quite handy. And my assumption already is that Galio, the gargoyle, is probably made of petricite, potentially. However, following the sudden death of King Jarvan III, the other noble families have not yet approved the succession of his sole heir, young Prince Jarvan, to the throne. Those who dwell beyond the heavily guarded borders are increasingly viewed with suspicion, and many former allies have begun to look elsewhere for protection in these uncertain times. Some dare to whisper, so almost like almost getting a vibe of like, again, Ionia is far more in play with this, but getting the vibe of like a feudal Japan isolationist. The emperor's dead, and then there's like a child that's meant to take over, and that could kind of cause some disasters, turmoil, people trying to take the power or the throne for themselves. Some dare to whisper that the golden age of Demacia has passed, and unless its people are willing to adapt to a changing world, something many believe they are simply incapable of doing, the kingdom's decline may be inevitable. And all the petricite in the land will not protect Demacia from itself. Alrighty, so we've already got, in the first few paragraphs, we've already got, it's got these great ideals, duty, honor, or what are they? Justice, honor, and duty, but I guess because of inner politics and turmoil, a lot of that is kind of being cast aside. And I guess it's kind of hard to be honorable when you're an isolationist kingdom with folks like Noxus knocking at the door. So the lore. Demacia is a proud, lawful kingdom with a prestigious military, founded as a... Yep. You literally... Yep, that's like the first paragraph up there. So one thing that we definitely picked up on with the last going through Noxus is, look, obviously the people that work on these websites are doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it most assuredly for free. So we do get a lot of repeats and some broken sentences, but that's fine. That's no problems at all. It's not like Riot paying people to manage this website, right? Because that would be pretty rough. Alrighty. So provenance. The history of Demacia and its culture stems from the cataclysm of the Rune Wars, where survivors who fled from the conflict had ventured into the west of Valoran with the hope of establishing safety away from the chaos. Some say it was while a cult of dark mages terrorized these displaced survivors that they hid in an ancient and petrified forest, where the sorcerers that chased them suddenly found their magic was made ineffective by its strange woods. So that's like last stream I was saying that Demacia has magical trees that protected them from the Rune Wars, right? Deciding to take advantage of this unique power from this environment, these vagabonds set up a permanent residence. Eventually, knowledge of this curious new realm reached other refugees who came seeking asylum and solidarity from the magic that was ravaging the rest of Runeterra. Within a short time, the united settlers had built themselves a sizable community, allied under the new nation they would call Demacia. So you've got these, as mentioned, mages rocking around, being absolute cringe lords, and then through the power of nature or natural resource, this particular area in Runeterra kind of nullifies all of their magic. Which is a pretty good spot to set up, right? It would make you, over centuries, pretty good at defending your territory as well. I would love to see that also. Just these, like, horrendously power-hungry mages chasing these poor people into a forest, and then they just like, oh, WTF skis? Where's my magic skis, bro? And then they just get absolutely blitzed by these people. That would be quite funny. Which again, it kind of like, if we got more of the glorious evolution, right? Like, would the arcane that kind of connects and empowers all of the evolved, would that just suddenly be dampened and then they'll just like stop and just be like puppets and just be like dolls, basically, unable to do anything? Well, we'll never know, I guess. Alrighty. So, winged protectors. Many refugees fled the horrors of the Rune Wars. One such refugee were Killam and his twin daughters, Kael and Morgana. Oh my god. Okay, so we're already getting into this. I would love... So again, if we want to do like a sister thing again, Kael and Morgana would be fantastic. Light and dark. I believe potentially we might get an event between those two coming up. Look, if they wanted to go down that route again, it's same with the Vi and Jinx stuff, except using instead of being like this grounded story, Kael and Morgana would be like an angel versus a demon almost kind of thing, but they're sisters, right? That would be very cool, especially with Fortitia's animation style. Hailing from Mount Targan, their father sought a safer life for their daughters, and their mother, Mihara, became the ascended host of the aspect of justice. Several years have passed, and the conclusion of the Rune Wars. One day, the sisters have received their mother's Starfire Spellblade from the sky, and with which they unlocked their celestial powers, becoming additional ascended hosts for the aspects of justice. Together, they vowed to protect their new home of Demacia. And then we've got here the Battle of Zephyra. Kael and Morgana flew to aid the peoples of Zephyra. While Kael was busy dealing with the frontline attack, Morgana learned of a hidden wave of enemies attacking the city and left the frontiers to aid the citizens. After the battle, Kael lost trust in her sister, leaving her on the battlefield, right? So like that'll be a cool little... kind of wedge to place between the two sisters. And again, it is interesting. I do like that they are sisters, right? Because again, Morgana, I think we've got a decent picture here of the two. Kael looking on the left like a beautiful angel babe, and Morgana looking like the queen of nightmares, right? So that would be an interesting little dynamic there. So then straight into the Battle of the Winged Sisters, right? Warriors flocked to Kael's banner at Silvermare's Peak, where she founded a Judicator order to enforce the law and hunted down rebels and reavers with equal fervor. Kael allowed Morgana to rehabilitate wrongdoers who appeared humble enough to admit their guilt. Gradually, Kael's followers started to resent Morgana. Kael's protege Ronas attempted to imprison Morgana for her actions when Kael was busy outside of the city, which resulted in his death. His death led to an outbreak of riot in a city. Nice sentence there. When Kael returned, she looked down upon the city, becoming enraged, and summoned her divine fire to cleanse the city of sinners and bring Ronas's killer to justice. Morgana flew up to meet her, raising her blade, saying that saying that is she wants punish darkness in mortal hearts, saying if she wants to punish darkness in mortal hearts, she should start from her sister. Oh my goodness. The battle raged on, ruining the city and killing numerous of its inhabitants, until it was abruptly halted by their father's anguished cry. With the death of her father, Kilam, both Kael and Morgana left Demacia. Kael isolated herself near the slopes of Mount Targan, seeking perfect celestial clarity. Morgana remained at the outlying wilds of Demacia, where she rectifies wrongs she sees fit on an interpersonal level as a veiled one. Alright. Quick to discover their homeland was rich in natural resources, the development of infrastructure for new cities and farmlands grew exponentially. But with progress and wealth came adversaries to the fledgling kingdom, ensuring that Demacia was at constant odds with ambitious conquerors. Yet there would be no fear of invaders capitalizing on magical warfare, and so Demacia's small but elite infantry would always have the advantage when threats took place in their homeland. But not every battle took place within the kingdom's protective boundaries, as the most cunning enemies would attempt to draw out Demacia's army, where they would be far more susceptible to arcane attacks. Seeking out a means for more advanced protection, the leaders of Demacia enlisted Durand, the greatest artisan of all time, to sculpt a mobile instrument that could be useful in wars set abroad. Later unveiled to be the statue Titan, shaped in the form of half-man, half-raptor, like the silver wings native to the Highlands. Proven difficult to transfer in and out of Demacia, but unquestionably effective once it was out on the battlefield. The Colossus has been used when necessary ever since. So, big old Galio. Which is always interesting, right? In League of Legends, Galio is like normal size, but here, at least, we see he's a big, big boy. Death of the King. More than a century ago, Noxus's expansion brought the Empire's focus dangerously close to the lands protected by Demacia. On other nations, On their nation's first and legendary clash, the King Jarvan I went at war with Noxus for the southern lands. But Noxus wouldn't bow. The war hero Sion and I just want to see this. I want to see this. Please, please, please. Please, Fortiche. Please, writers. Please, please. But Noxus wouldn't bow. The war hero Sion charged against the Demacians with the only true focus of killing their king. Jarvan's royal guardsmen believed they could halt his charge. They were wrong. He cut them down one by one until only he and the king remained. Battered and fatigued, Sion continued to fight the king. He battled Jarvan beyond the point of breaking and was finally bested, but not beaten. With his dying breath, he locked his fingers around the king's throat and broke the will of a nation. The Demacian King Jarvan I was dead. Oh my goodness. When the Demacian Prince Jarvan IV received the honorary rank of general, he marched to the lands beyond the Argent Mountains to bring stability to the almost lawless frontier created by Noxian presence. In response, the newly established Trifarian Legion was sent to the Gates of Morning and standing outpost close to the westernmost Noxian border. Hi Megan, how we doing? We're looking at League of Legends lore. Very exciting, very fun, yay, reading, yahoo. Oh dear. After Diodoro from the Dauntless Vanguard held the Gates of Morning for an entire day, they fell to the Trifarian Legion. When word came that the gates of the morning had fallen, Jarvan resolved to drive onward into Noxian territory, against the advice of his lieutenants. Inevitably, the battalion spread so thin, Jarvan was encircled and defeated by Noxian warbands before he even reached Travail. What a loser, bro. Gah, you suck, man. Refusing to surrender, the prince and a handful of other survivors fled into the forests, only to be hounded for days by the Noxians. Eventually, pierced through his side by an arrow, Jarvan collapsed into the shade of a fallen tree, where he would be saved by a purple-skinned woman. I like your reading. Please do those hilarious impressions. Oh gosh, if they arise, I absolutely would be more than happy to. So the purple-skinned woman is Shyvana, who can turn into a dragon. Got a dragon lady, guys and gals. Purple-skinned woman, who's actually super fun to play in the game. I played her quite a bit. The supposed death of the prince affected all of Demacia. Jarvan III was in grief, and Garen blamed himself for what happened, using all of his funds to aid the family of the fallen soldiers. He was recognised by the king himself for his demonstration to the Demacian ideals. See, Garen's a really nice guy. Garen's a super duper nice guy, man. Like, oh, all of those soldiers die doing soldier things. I'll give them some money. That's not sus at all, right? That's not sus at all. Garen, chill, my brother. Alrighty. Unshackled, raised in one of Demacia's lesser quarters, Silas of Dregborn has come to symbolize the darker side of the great city. As a boy, his ability to root out hidden sorcery caught the attention of the notorious Mage Seekers, who eventually imprisoned him for turning those same powers against them. What? Sorry, bud. We're imprisoning you for doing your job. Sorry, cuzzy. Over the years, after apprehending numerous mages in the Order, Silas began to doubt Demacian ideals as he began to notice numerous mages amidst its population, some of which were highborn, protected by their status. But surely they can't do much, right? Yes, they're mages, but if they're in Demacia, they can't do a whole lot, right? Because of the magic stone and the magic trees, darling. Unless they're in the outskirts, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Those doubts finally bloomed into one deadly fateful event, when Silas and his handlers encountered a mage living in hiding in the countryside. Okay. After discovering it was only a young girl, Silas took pity on her. When he tried to shield the child from the mage seekers, he accidentally brushed against her skin. The girl's magic rushed through Silas's body, but rather than killing him, it shot forth from his hands in raw, uncontrolled bursts. It was a talent he did not know he possessed, and it resulted in the deaths of 3 people, including his Mage Seeker mentor. Oh no, that's so friggin' terrible. Oh, that's so depressing. I don't even know his name. I mean, that would be interesting, right? You've got this, character who's hunting down mages and then gets, imbued with this magical ability and accidentally kills a couple of people he's working for. Knowing he'd be called a murderer, Silas went on the run and quickly gained notoriety as one of the most dangerous mages in Demacia. Though he was still just a youth when Silas was eventually apprehended, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He languished in the darkest depths of the Mage Seeker compound, forced to wear heavy shackles of magic-dampening petricite. I mean, that'll be a cool little faction, right? The Mage Seekers make sense for Demacia. They're kind of anti-magic. I wonder if they will make shows for Demacia. I have a feeling it would be ruined. But I think Noxus is next, or was it an ad? Still confuzzled on that, lol. So, the writers are exploring Noxus, Demacia, and Ionia for the next show. So it could involve all 3. It could involve just one. I'm not sure, so we're just covering off all three. Again, it seems like there would be way too much to cover if they did all three. Like, that would be crazy. But the one thing that does link them all is Noxus, like, invade Demacia and invade Ionia. So let's say if the focus was Noxus, we'd still see potentially both, and then maybe they're thinking we'd need to do at least some setup for those areas. So like, let's say the core roster and focus is in Noxus, and then maybe we get a couple Ionian characters, a couple of Demacian characters, but I am quite certain that we would see the Ionian invasion, and I'm quite certain we would see the chem bomb attack on Ionia. Demacia, I'm not certain about. Maybe we'd get a little bit of Demacia, like let's say if we set up Scion and we get Scion's backstory, then we'll probably get some Demacia there. But I think if anything, we'll probably see Noxus Ionia. But a girl can dream, right? A girl can dream. Because I do like Demacia. I think it's quite cool. I think it's quite a cool locale. After 15 years, a young volunteer from the Illuminators named Luxana, Jinx's future girlfriend, stumbled into his cell. Over time, the two forged an unusual and secretive bond in exchange for Silas's knowledge. Oh, gee. 1 second, guys. Sorry, there's someone coming up to the door. 1 moment. Let me tell them to bugger off. Let me tell them to get the hell out of here. 1 moment. You know, I really don't know how people just stumble upon my timeless void in space, but they just keep doing it. I don't understand. All right. Anyway, anywho. So Lux stumbled into this murderous. I'm already like, I'm here. I've barely started, and I'm getting Arcane Season 2 vibes, right? Jinx is in prison. Or what's this guy, Silas is in prison, and then Vi or Lux comes in, just stumbles into his cell. Okay, alright. Over time, the two forged an unusual and secretive bond, ooh, that's kinky, in exchange for Silas's knowledge of the control of magic. Lux educated him in the world outside of his cell, and brought him whatever books he desired, one of which was the manuscript of Durand. Lux, baby girl, for all you know, this guy is a magical murderer. That's kind of cray-cray. Again, we're getting Season 2 vibes here already. The artisan's work was the foundation of Demacia's defences against the malicious sorcery, but Silas analysed the petricite. Was not recorded. Ooh, some of this writing is pretty rough, guys. Was not recorded to actually suppress magic, but to absorb it, meaning that it was possible to expel the magic stored within his restraints. All he needed was a source of magic, a source like Lux. Yeah, don't make friends with murderers in prison cells. Oh my god. But she never visited Silas again. Her family, the immensely powerful Crown Guards, had learnt of their contact and were furious that Lux had defied the law to help this vile criminal. Thank you, even though we know it was a mistake, but they don't, so thank you. Without explanation, Silas was to be swiftly executed. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, old chum, old buddy, old chum. On the scaffold, Lux pleaded for her... The scaffold? What? Maybe for hanging? Okay. Lux pleaded for her friend's life, but her cries fell on deaf ears. As the headsman pushed past her to raise his sword, Silas managed to touch against Lux with his chains. As he had predicted, her power surged into the Petricite shackles, ready for him to unleash. And with the hijacked magic, Silas blasted his way free, sparing only the terrified young crown guard. What a bad boy. Silas destroyed the Mage Seeker prison, liberating all mages and assembling an indignant mob to assault the monarchy. What a piece of shit. What a bad, bad boy. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Sorry, 1 second. Oh my god. Ugh, 1 moment. Sozimotos. However, Silas destroyed the Mage Seeker prison. However, he had the seized Prince Jarvan discover the king had already been assassinated. He and the seized Prince Jarvan discovered the king had already been assassinated. Unbeknownst to anyone, Grand General Swain had dispatched Katarina, which we learnt last session, to assassinate the king to weaken Demacia for future assimilation into the Empire. Silas prepared to execute the next in line, but Garen had assembled the vanguard to battle the insurgency. Garen also had a bit of a fight with Katarina, and they probably at that point ended up smooshing booties because they were both just so hot and flustered. OMG. Garen tried to stop Silas from escaping the city, and nearly succeeded in ending the mage's life. At the last second, Silas was secretly rescued by his former mentor, Mage Seeker Killian. I thought he was dead. The criminal absconded through a tunnel out of the city and planned to grow his revolution to one day destroy the Authoritar that had oppressed mages across the land. I don't know how long it's been, right? But, this whole place was set up to protect and defend against mages who were going around destroying Runeterra during the Rune Wars. Oh, how oppressed these poor mages must be. How's about you leave? Look, if you're a mage and there's a city that was built to fight against and defend against mages that clearly hate them, maybe go live somewhere else. Maybe, just maybe, go live somewhere else, yeah? Following the revolt, the Mage Seekers began a crackdown on the magical population within the great city, arresting all mages and anyone harbouring one. Lux had opposed this persecution and could not remain idle when Garen suggested framing others to hide her magic. She gathered a family of mages and escorted them through the same sewers, but encountered her brother one last time. Respecting Lux's decision to leave, Garen allowed the mages to escape and said goodbye to his sister. What about duty and honour, Garen? Ooh, naughty boy. Turmoil. Shortly after Silas's escape, the Mage Seekers began to systematically gather and imprison or exile all known mages within Demacia. Young and old, dangerous or benign, every person with even a trace of magical abilities were taken away from their homes and their families. So, is there like like a test or something? Like, do you get a stick and like go Wingardium Leviosa, and if something happens, then it's like, oh, off to prison, old chum. Like, you know, if you just look at Lux, she doesn't look like a magical being. She just looks like a chick, and then she's obviously got a bunch of magic going on. And it's also like almost what do they call it in this? Like Solaris, like solar divine stuff. All right, we'll see if that leads anywhere. These drastic decisions led to numerous revolts. Led to numerous revolts across the kingdom. The people demanded their loved ones to be returned to them. One such similar instance happened in Meltridge. A diplomatic convoy from Arbermark was being escorted to the capital by Demacian military and the Mage Seekers. When they reached Meltridge, they were ambushed by local villagers demanding retribution for the capture of their loved ones or their beloved residents. Oh, one of their beloved residents. Sorry, that's my bad. I can't actually read. I'm just kind of making up as I go along and praying. Kyra was discovered to have had faint traces of magic within her at a very young age. I'm the Avatar, and you have to deal with it, energy. But up until escape of Silas, she was not deemed any threat to the nation. Despite a small fight erupting, further escalation of violence was averted by the quick actions of a soldier named Kithria, who stopped the fighting and promised the parents of Kyra that she would do anything within her power to bring their daughter back to them. Silas be smoking some magic pot. Silas is a bad boy, man. Gee willikers. Like, you're a mage seeker, you accidentally kill 3 people, and it's like, oh, I need to get out of here. Like, how's about? Like, I know it's a mistake, I know it was an accident, but how's about you face your consequences, brother? That's 3 dead people. Yeah, Silas be doing some crazy stuff. But again, next piece is the Mage Seeker, so I do wonder if we get some explanation to this, because, again, like, how do you know someone is magic, right? Unless, like, when you're a kid, you just accidentally do magic, right? Like, you don't know it's a bad thing, and you just, you know, do a Lux ult and, like, kill 20 people, and it's like, oh, well, seems my boy here has some innate magical abilities, I do declare. Alright. The Mage Seeker. So, Silas had begun to seek allies to start his revolution. He met a spellcrafter named Leilani that led a group of rebel mages in Zephyra, and agreed to teach them to fight. In exchange, they would help him kill Eldred, Crown Guard, leader of the Mage Seekers. Silas and his rebels waged guerrilla warfare against the Mage Seekers, raiding their outposts to steal supplies and recruit their prisoners. During one such raid, they found a feather of the Veiled Lady, or I guess Morgana. Intrigued by its power, Silas sought her out and found her within the sacred woods. Yeah, Morgana. Well, Morgana agreed that the Mage Seekers were a threat. She withheld assistance due to her disdain for Silas's vengeance. See, Morgana's great. Morgana's a good girl. She just looks bad, you know? She just looks like a bad girl. Silas would lead his rebels to assault the great city, battling their way through Demacia until Silas reached Eldred's office and slayed the leader himself. Jarvan and Shyvana would battle him shortly after, but Silas would make a choice between helping his allies and killing the king. Remembering his promise to Leilani, Silas retreated from a wounded duo to help his squad survive the fight. Wisteria's forces arrived, and she cast a wave that stunned all but Leilani, then charged up a lethal blast of energy. Running out of options, Leilani cast a powerful reflection spell at the cost of her own life, which bought them the chance to escape. Okay. We gotta, for the kingdom that is anti-magic, we got a lot of magic going on here. It's not what I was expecting, I'll be honest. Reeling from Leilani's death, Silas finally understood what Morgana meant about vengeance, and she would summon him back to give him a weapon that could defeat the Mage Seekers. Woof. She showed him a vision of Demacia's founding, how mages and non-mages alike work hand in hand to create their nation. But people like Mage Seekers distorted the truth and turned the people moroso. Are you freaking retarded, Mediagal? More so against the magic than evil. Armed with this revelation, Silas and his rebels would focus on saving mages instead of taking revenge on the Mage Seekers. In the wake of Eldred's death, Commander Wisteria took over the Mage Seekers and pressured King Jarvan IV to warrant the execution mages. The execution of mages, which forces Shyvana to leave Jarvan in fear of persecution. Silas interrupted one of these executions and showed the people Morgana's vision, turning public opinion against the persecution of mages. This is going to be rough, like following up Arcane. Doing like, mages aren't so bad, when it's like you've got LeBlanc, mage, evil. You've got Victor, arcane infused, evil. Evil, quote unquote. I mean, his actions are horrendous, so yes, evil. You've got the Rune Wars mentioned in Arcane, evil. You've got mage evil, mage equals evil, magic equals evil, arcane evil, blah, 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 blah. And then we're going to be like, these poor persecuted mages. Oh my goodness, they could destroy a city with the flick of their fingers, but they're so poorly treated. Ugh. Growing desperate, Wisteria led the Mage Seekers to exterminate a camp of mages in Terbesia, led by Lux. Silas and his rebels arrived to her defense alongside Garen and Shyvana. Oh, Garen, my boy, fighting for the mages, eh? Silas eventually came face to face with Wisteria and battled his old friend, emerging victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, King Jarvan IV reconsidered his actions and would follow through with his late father's wishes to disband the Mage Seekers. Man, that is light. We've got like nothing going on here for Demacia. I guess that that really opens up the writers to be able to kind of do their own thing, right? Because the entire... That's kind of crazy. The entire Demacian history basically just revolves around, like, Cyrus. That's kind of lame. We've got all these characters here, right? No Quinn, no Poppy. Which Poppy? Like, Poppy's story is great. Why is Poppy not in there? Where you get a mention of Kael, like a singular mention of Kael. Galio's mentioned as the Titan. No Fiora. No Sonya. No Vayne. What? WTF. Alright, well I guess we'll have to get them in their backstories then, huh? Gee whiz. That's kind of unfortunate. Noxus had a meaty history compared to this. Alright. Alrighty, so character-wise, we'll start with Fiora. Very fun character to play. The parry queen. Can't hit me, babes, when I'm doing me power. Can't hit me, tee-hee. The most feared duelist in all of Valoran. Fiora is as renowned for her brusque what? Manner? I don't know what that means. And political cunning, as she is for the speed of her rapier. Born to the noble Laurent family in Demacia, Fiora claimed the household from her father in the wake of a scandal that nearly destroyed them. Oh my gosh. Now she's dedicated to restoring the Laurents to their rightful place among the great and good of the kingdom. So her alias, the Grand Duelist and Lady Fiora. So Fiora Laurent cuts a figure of both elegance and lethality. Her lithe frame is clad in gleaming armor, polished to a mirror shine. The armor itself is intricate Demacian steel, adorned with flourishes that hint at her noble heritage. Beneath the armor, glimpses of fine leather undergarments peek through, hinting at her agility. Her most striking feature is her face. Okay. Framed by a cascade of fiery red hair. Her red hair? Red hair. Red hair. Okay. There's a lot more not red going on there, but right. That's fine. By a cascade of fiery red hair, her eyes, a piercing blue, radiate unwavering determination and focus. In her hand, she carries her signature weapon, a rapier named Riposte, because she's the parry queen. The rapier blade is as sharp and deadly as Fiora herself. Sharp? Okay. Its intricate filigree? What? Hinting at its legendary status. Filigree? What? I don't know what that means, darling. All right. That's fine. Wait, whoa. Where's her backstory? What? Like, I know we've got the biography here, but where's the... What? Like, with every single other character in Noxus, we had a meaty history to read through. Like, Scion was the smallest history, and it was like a couple paragraphs. Why? Suspicious. I wonder if that means Fiora's gonna be in the show, right? And let's just have a quick look at this, see how meaty this is. Why is this not just on that page? This is a few paragraphs. What the? Okay. I've got some changes here. Okay, all right. As the youngest daughter of the noble Laurent family, Fiora seemed destined for a life as a political pawn, to be married off in Demacia's grand game of alliances. Ooh, we could get some Game of Thrones-esque political intrigue in Demacia, darling. Oh my goodness gosh. This did not sit well, and from an early age, she deliberately defied every expectation placed on her. Okay, Arya. Her mother had the finest craftsman of Demacia, fashioned the most... And she's got needle, a little rapier. Bro, this is lit... Oh my gosh, okay. Her mother had the finest craftsman of Demacia fashion the most lifelike dolls for her to play with, but Fiora gave them to her maids and took up her eldest brother's rapier. Jon Snow's made her needle, yes, forcing him to give her lessons in secret. So she got a dancing master, yes. Her father obtained a set of dress-making mannequins for her personal seamstresses to craft wondrous gowns, but Fiora merely used them to practice her lunges and ripostes. Despite her years of quaint resistance, a politically advantageous marriage was eventually arranged with an outlying branch of the Crown Guard family. After her 18th birthday, plans were set for a summer wedding. It would take place in the capital, and King Jarvan III himself would attend. Oh my god, how incredible. On that day, as the invited guests began to arrive, Fiora stood up and declared that she would sooner die than allow someone else to decide her course of life. Why'd you let everyone travel all this way, man, and then just say that? Like, come on. Don't make everybody come all this way and then just be a little cringelord about it. Fiora, my girl, my gal. Her betrothed was publicly shamed by this outburst, obviously, especially if this is like a feudal, magical, medieval fantasy land. And his family demanded satisfaction in the old manner, a duel to the death. Fiora immediately agreed, but her father Sebastian implored the king to intervene. Jarvan had done much to end such feuding among the nobility, but in this case his hands were tied. Fiora had already accepted. There was only one option left, Sebastian invoking his right to fight in her place. High Marshal Tiana Crownguard likewise named a champion to fight for her kinsman, selecting a veteran warrior from the dauntless vanguard. Sebastian's defeat seemed almost certain. The Laurent name would be ruined and Fiora exiled in disgrace. Presented with so stark... Oh, Stark! Oh, Game of Thrones confirmed, guys. Presented with so stark a choice, he made a decision that could damn his family for years to come. That night, before the duel, he attempted to slip his opponent a draft that would dull his sense and slow his reactions, but he was caught in the act and arrested. What a little snake, bro. I'm a poison my opponent because I'm a little pussy boy. What a little snake. The law was clear. Sebastian Laurent had broken the most fundamental code of honor. Yeah, exactly. He would be humiliated upon the executioner's scaffold, hanging like a common criminal. On the eve of his death, Fiora visited his cell, but what passed between them remains a secret known only to her. Yes, but you can put that because we are like God's eye reading about the lore and backstory and history of characters, so surely we can know what that is, right? The next day, Fiora approached the king's dais in full view of the crowd. She knelt before him and offered up her blade. With his blessing, she would claim the Laurent name from her father and justice would be served. The duel was blindingly swift, a dance of blades so exquisite that those present would never forget what they witnessed. Fiora's father was a fine swordsman in his own right, but he was no match for his daughter. They said farewell in every clash of steel, but in the end, Fiora tearfully buried her rapier in her father's heart. That would make such a great build-up to a scene. That would be fantastic in a show. Like, dueling her father to the death to kind of regain both his honor, her honor, and the family name's honor. That'd be great. I'd love to see that. That'd be a cool little moment. Quite sad, quite tragic. Bittersweet, you know. This would be like the plan from the daddy, right? That'd be a cool moment. Solemnly, King Jarvan ruled that Sebastian had paid for his crimes in full. Fiora would be his successor. The quarrel between the families was resolved, and that would be an end to it. Even so, such scandals are not easily forgotten. Fiora took to her new duties at court with her customary clarity and directness, but found that rumours and gossip continued to follow her at every turn. Right. She had usurped her brother's claims to the family name. What could this arrogant child bring to the great city of Demacia but more strife and bloodshed if she would not take a husband? I mean, if you're like sworn sword to the king, that's pretty great, right? I don't think you need a man to bring honor if you're like the king's blade, right? Rather than demand more justice at the edge of her sword, Fiora instead turned to her wider family, cousins, and more distant relatives. Oh, please don't say she's gonna marry a cousin or something. With many renowned sword masters among them, and silenced her critics by granting noble status to all her household. Okay. Together, they were dedicated to the refinement of bladecraft within the kingdom. Dueling was an ancient art, but need not always end in death. Yeah, very true. And if any care to disagree with that notion, Fiora would be only too happy to test their strength of their conviction in combat herself. Okay. All right, I mean, that's a cool little story, right? She didn't want to get married, so she publicly shamed the person that she was going to marry, and then the father's basically forced into this duel, and he's a little pussy baby boy, so tries to, like, drug the opponent, gets dishonored, and then to kind of regain the honor of him and the family, is bested by the daughter in a duel. Simple, basic, I like it. That's really cool. Cool little character, y'all. Again, why? Why are we doing it like this, guys? Why do we have... Oh my god, he's got one paragraph! My god, Galio, pussy boy! Why have you got one paragraph, my brother in Christ? Alright, so Galio, I think it's like the Titan, defender of Demacia. Outside the great city of Demacia, the stone colossus Galio keeps vigilant watch. Built as a bulwark against enemy mages, he often stands motionless for decades until the presence of a powerful mage stirs him to life. Once activated, Galio makes the most of his time, savouring the thrill of the fight and the rare honour of defending his countrymen. But his triumphs are always bittersweet, for the magic he destroys is also his source of reanimation, and each victory leaves him dormant once again. So aliases: the Colossus, the Titan who ate... the Titan who ate magic. Okay. Very cool. Very cool, guys. He gobbles up that magic real good. Galio was built over 2 years during the kingdom's early years in the 3rd and 4th centuries AN. Upon the slopes of the Green Fang Mountains, a group of Demacian soldiers was battered by a barrage of arcane magic, projected by a powerful group of Noxian war mages. It was here that Galio absorbed the emanating magic and awoke for the first time. Oh, I see. Warwick was inspired by Galio's fit. Yes, that's why I call, or in one of my videos, I've called Warwick Galio-looking mother trucker. I mean, look at that, right? That's one of the reasons why I hate his redesign. How horrendous. Like, literally Galio-looking mofo. Like, unbelievable. Unbelievable, and super uninspired as well. So shit. So shit. Like... real bad. Real bad. Which, yes, I most certainly will be making a reference to that in my finale breakdown as well. Because I think that's really shit. Like, Warwick has a great original look. They changed it to make it more human-like. And then they changed it again, and it's like, my brother, take away them wings, and you are Galio. Like, what is going on? Like, that is so... so lame. So lame. Super lame. Galio takes the appearance of a large muscular gargoyle with wing motifs reminiscent to the Winged Sisters during Demacia's early years. His body is mostly made of petricite, which is of a white marble-like colour. Some gold elements are present around his body, giving him a regal appearance. Oh my. Oh, that might be interesting. Seeing Galio and Vladimir fight. Like, who could possibly win that, right? It seems rough. I mean, Vladimir is magic, but he's like a hemomancer using blood, and he's like basically immortal almost. And then, of course, Galio is like, sup, my boy, your magic don't do shit to me, and I ain't got no blood, brother. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Alrighty. Galio's legend begins in the aftermath of the Rune Wars, when countless refugees fled from the destructive power of magic. In the west of Valoran, a band of these displaced people were hounded by a vicious band of dark mages. Exhausted from days without rest, the refugees hid amongst the shadows of the ancient petrified forest, and their pursuers suddenly found their magic to be ineffective. It seems the fossilized trees were a natural magic dampener, and any sorcery used within them would simply fail. No longer helpless, the refugees turned their swords on the dark mages and drove them from the land. Some decided that the sanctuary from magic was a gift from the gods. Others saw it as a fair reward for their terrible journey, which is also basically a gift from the gods if you're being rewarded due to your terrible journey. I mean, quite literally both of those things are the exact same thing, just said slightly differently. But all agreed this should be their new home. As years passed, the settlers crafted items of protection from the enchanted wood. Eventually, and I mean, speaking of enchanted wood, I think that's what Echo has. That's how he cured Jinx's mental illness in Arcane. He's got enchanted wood, right, guys? Eventually, they found it could be mixed with ash and lime to make petricite, a material with a powerful resistance to magic. It would be the foundation of their new civilization, forming the walls of the new kingdom of Demacia. For years, these petricite barriers were all the Demacians needed to feel secure from the threat of magic within the borders of their homeland. In the rare event that they needed to settle a conflict abroad, their military proved fierce and formidable. But when their enemies employed sorcery, Demacia's roaming army had little recourse. Somehow, they needed to take the security of their magic-dampening walls into battle. The sculptor Durand was commissioned to fashion some manner of petricite shield for the military, and 2 years later, the artist unveiled his masterpiece. While it was not what many were expecting, the winged statue Galio would become vital to the defense of their nation and serve as a symbol of Demacia across Valoran. Using a system of pulleys, steel sledges, and countless oxen, they would pull the great stone figure into battle. Many would-be invaders simply froze at the sight of the awe-inspiring silhouette looming before them, the titan who ate magic. I'm sorry, that is so shit. I'm sorry, that is so cringe. Oh, it's the titan that ate magic, yeah? He's freaking scary, like. All the most powerful sorcerers in the world, yeah? Well, sorry, my gargoyle eats your magic, yeah? So, like... The titan who ate magic inspired a kingdom and terrified those who opposed it. However, no one thought to consider what exposing the statue to such unpredictable energies might do. Demacia had been mired in battle with the enemy forces in the Green Fang Mountains. A skilled order of war mages known as the Arcane Fist bombarded the Demacians with crackling bolts of raw mystical power for 13 days. Those who survived this long felt their morale dwindling and huddled close to Galio. Just when their spirits could be brought no longer... What? Just when their spirits could be brought no lower, yeesh, a slow, deafening rumble shook the veil, as if two mountains were grinding against each other. As a great shadow grew above them, the Demacian soldiers steeled themselves for death. A deep voice bellowed from above. To the Demacians' astonishment, the sound came from the Colossus at their backs. Galio was moving and speaking entirely on his own. Somehow, the acclamation of absorbed magic had given him life. He threw himself in front of the Demacians, shielding them from attack after attack, absorbing each fresh bolt into his massive stone frame. Then Galio turned, bounded up the mountainside, and crushed every last one of the arcane fist into craggy soil. It is kind of funny reading all of this about Galio when... I mean, I don't know about you guys, League of Legends players, but Galio is kind of shit. I don't know about y'all. I never found him to be overly fun character to play. Or even very strong, to be frank. The Demacians cheered. They were eager to thank the Petricite sentinel that had saved them, but as quickly as he'd come to life, their fearsome protector had ceased moving, returning to his pedestal just as before. Back in their great city, this bizarre tale was told in hushed tones by few who had survived the Battle of the Green Fang, and was usually received with silent incredulity. I think that's how you pronounce that word. The day passed into legend, perhaps a mere allegory of ancient days to help people through hard times. Certainly no one would have believed that the Colossus continued to see all that transpired around him. Even while immobile, Galio retained consciousness, longing to experience the sensation of battles once more. That would suck, man. Conscious statue, basically. Poor guy. He watched mortals pass beneath him, paying him tribute year after year. It puzzled him to see them disappear one by one as time rolled on. Galio wondered where they went. Where they went when they vanished. Perhaps they were sent away to be mended, as he often was when he returned from war? Nah, babe, they die. They're humans, they die. As years slipped by, Galio began to realize the sorrowful answer to his question. Yeah, unlike himself, the people of Demacia could not be repaired, or have their damage easily repaired. Or have their damage easily repaired. Mortals were frail, ephemeral creatures, and he now understood just how badly they needed his protection. Fighting had been his passion, but the people were now his purpose. Even so, Galio had been called into battle only a handful of times in all the centuries since. Demacia had begun to look inward, with magic becoming rarer in his world than it once was. And so the Petricite Colossus remains dormant, observing the world through the murk and his waking dreams. The statue's great hope is to be blessed by a magic so powerful that he will never be forced to sleep again. Only then will Galio be able to truly serve his purpose, to stand and fight in Demacia's protected forevermore. So, what happens if Galio enters the immortal bastion in Noxus? Right? That's a pretty powerful magical place. Would he be able to suck it all up? Or would it be too much for him? Or would LeBlanc cringe to death? I don't know. Maybe we'll see it in the show. Probably not. I don't think that. If they did Galio in the show, I think, if anything, it would be like this like huge statue you see in the background all the time, and then maybe once you see it like activate to protect people or someone or something. I don't think we'd get like much, if anything. That might be a bit too... It would be like introducing Warwick in Season 1. It would be a bit too fantastical, a bit too fantasy. Oh, that is some delicious water, guys. Have a sippy whippy of water, you know? It's friggin' good for you. All right. Garen. Surely Garen has some meaty... Okay. One paragraph. What is with these Demacia characters? And what do the writers are they just not inspired at all by Demacia or something? Like again, each character not only had their biography, right, but they had paragraph after paragraph of history in Noxus. Come on, guys, get firewise. Write some gosh darn lore. All right, Garen, big man. Big sword. Big man, big sword. That's Garen, basically. A proud, noble soldier, Garen fights at the head of the dauntless vanguard. He is popular amongst his followers and respected well enough by his enemies, not at least as a scion of the prestigious Crown Guard family, entrusted with defending Demacia and its ideals. Clad in magic-resistant armor and bearing a mighty broadsword, Garen stands ready to confront mages and sorcerers on the field of battle in a veritable whirlwind of righteous steel. Yes, Garen is a spin-to-win boy. He loves to spin, and when he spins, sometimes he wins. That's why he gets along so well with Katarina, because she also likes to spin and win. They just like to spin. Instead of like anything romantic, generally what Garen and Katarina do is they stand about a meter apart and just spin around in circles. Super. To them, it's like the most romantic thing. It's like a beautiful dance, you know. At 12 years old, Garen left High Silvermere to join the military. By the time Garen was 18 years old, he had served with honour in his campaigns along the Freljord borders. Oh, Freljord. So, I mean, Noxus and Demacia have run-ins with the Freljord. Played a key role in purging cultists from the Silent Forest, fought alongside the defenders of White Rock, and started the trials necessary to join the ranks of the Dauntless Vanguard. At age 21, Garen joined the ranks of the Dauntless Okay. Nice sentence structure. During the chaos of Silas's escape and attacks on the Citadel, Garen crossed blades with Katarina during her escape after assassinating Jarvan III. He lets her go due to not knowing Katarina's actions, as well as Lux being in danger due to the aforementioned attack. After the death of Jarvan III, Garen led the first shield along with the 4th and 8th shield of the Dauntless Vanguard to Knockmerk. The group was joined by Quinn. Finally, a mention of Quinn. With the help of Quinn, Catharia, and others, Garen was able to foil a scheme by Noxus to force Knockmerk to aid Noxus against Demacia. During the Great Mage Rebellion, Garen fought against Silas multiple times. He also reunited with Lux in Terbesia. However, the two siblings had then had a fallout due to the events of the Great Mage Rebellion. Garen was then able to reconcile with his sister, vowing to never abandon her again as they stand together against the Mage Seekers. Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, I kind of like that, right? I think that's sweet. I think that's quite sweet, y'all. It is hinted that Katarina and Garen have feelings for each other. Then there are those who imply it to the point of confirmation. Yeah, look, they be smooshing booties. Makes sense. As I said, they both spin. Super romantic. They're both spinning around, spinning. It's super cute. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Born into the noble Crown Guard family, along with his younger sister Lux, Garen knew from an early age that he would be expected to defend the throne of Demacia with his life. His father, Pieter, was a decorated military officer, while his aunt, Tiana, was a sword captain of the elite Dauntless Vanguard, and both were recognized and greatly respected by King Jarvan III. It was assumed that Garen would eventually come to serve the king's son in the same manner. The kingdom of Demacia had The kingdom of Demacia had risen from the ashes of the Rune Wars, and the centuries afterwards were plagued with further conflict and strife. One that Garen's uncles, a ranger knight in the Demacian military, told young Garen and Lux his tales of venturing outside the kingdom's walls to protect his people from the dangers of the world beyond. I'm getting a bit of a Uncle Benjamin Stark feeling here. Oh my gosh, we're getting some Game of Thrones vibes from some of these backstories. How inspired! He warned them that one day something would undoubtedly end this time of relative peace, whether it be rogue mages, creatures of the abyss, which I would love to see an abyss show. Guys, I'd love to see a show like with the abyss as like the main villain, quote unquote, or entity, force of evil, or some other imaginable horror yet to come. Like you got the Watchers as well. Like, I mean, God, that would be pretty cool. As if to confirm those fears, their uncle was killed in the line of duty by a mage before Garen turned 11. Garen saw the pain this brought his family and the fear in his younger sister's eyes. He knew then for certain that magic was the first and greatest peril that Demacia faced, and he vowed never to let it within their walls. Only by following their founding ideals and by displaying their unshakable pride could the kingdom be kept safe. At the age of 12, Garen left the Crown Guard home in High Silvermere to join the military. As a squire, his days and nights were consumed by training and the study of war, honing his body and mind into a weapon as strong and true as Demacian steel. It was then that he first met young Jarvan IV, the prince who, as king, he would one day serve among the other recruits, and the two became inseparable. Secret gay romance, everybody. Oh, Amanda's gonna be all on top of that. Oh God. In the years that followed, Garen earned his place in the Shield Wall as a warrior of Demacia, and quickly gained a fearsome reputation on the battlefield. By the time he was 18, he had served with honour in campaigns along the Freljordian borders, played a key role in purging fetid cultists from the Silent Forest, and fought alongside the valiant defenders of White Rock. King Jarvan III himself summoned Garen's battalion back to the great city of Demacia, honouring them before the royal court in the Hall of Valar. Tiana Crown Guard, recently elevated to the role of High Marshal, signalled out her nephew in particular and recommended him for the trials necessary to join the ranks of the Dauntless Vanguard. A little bit of nepotism there. No surprise, no shock. Garen returned home in preparation and was greeted warmly by Lux and his parents, as well as the common people living on his family's estate. Though he was pleased to see his sister growing into an intelligent, capable young woman, something about her changed. He had noticed it whenever he visited, but now Garen wrestled with the real and gnawing suspicion that Lux possessed magical powers. Oh my God! Though he never let himself entertain the idea for long, the thought of a crown guard being capable of the same forbidden sorceries that had slain their uncle was too unbearable to confront. Naturally, through courage and skill, Garen won his place among the vanguard with his proud family and his... Oh my God. I read that as goon friend. Whoops. With his proud family and his goon friend, the prince, looking on, he took his oaths before the throne. Lux and her mother spent much more time in the capital in service to the king, as well as the humble order of the Illuminators. Yet Garen tried to keep his distance as much as possible. Though he loved his sister more than anything else in the world, some small part of him had a hard time getting close to her, and he tried not to think about it when he would be forced to do it if his suspicions were ever confirmed. Instead, he threw himself into his new duties, fighting and training twice as hard as he had before, spinning around in circles on the spot. That's his training. Spin, spin, spin. Spin, spin, spin. When the new sword... And jump. Jump, spin. Jump, spin. Spin, spin, spin. Jump, jump. Jump, spin, jump. Really great. When the new sword captain of the Dauntless Vanguard fell in battle, Garen found himself put forward for command by his fellow warriors, and the nomination was unopposed. To this day, he stands resolute in the defense of his homeland against all foes. Far more than Demacia's most formidable soldier, far more than just Demacia's most formidable soldier, he is the very embodiment of all the greatest and most noble ideals upon which it was founded. So Garen, a nice guy, a chill big bro, maybe a little bit of young love there with Jarvan the Fourth. You know what I'm talking about? His goon friend, right? Right. Speaking of goon friends, whoops. Let's read up about the goon himself. Jarvan IV, as the king's only son, Prince Jarvan, his heir apparent to the throne of Demacia, raised to be a paragon of his nation's greatest virtues. He is actually, this reminds me, one moment. This reminds me, let me put this on while I quickly look. Now, I'm quite certain, or at least I remember seeing, before Season 2 came out, there was a banner with King Jarvan on it. And that most assuredly was removed from the show. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Probably just an Easter egg then. Let me bring it up for you. So if you can kind of see that in that banner there, you got King Jarvan in Piltover. This is obviously when the Savika and Jinx unleash the Grey into Piltover. Strange, right? Like, I'm not sure who else that could possibly be. So this is in the trailer, but I do not remember it in the show proper. I mean, maybe it is, and it's just such a background thing. It's just like a little Easter egg. But again, it's like, and I talk about this in my finale breakdown when that's going to come out, hopefully in the next few days. One of the things that is frustrating to me with the end is that Piltover has set up this incredible technology which revolutionizes trade and transportation around all of Runeterra, and you've got Noxus trying to come in and claim that. You would think that maybe Demacia or many other nations, but someone like Demacia would be like, yeah, maybe we don't want something like that to happen, right? So it's like, why doesn't Piltover send a message, which you can do instantly with your hex gates, to Demacia, letting them know that, hey, your biggest rival is trying to take the hex tech technology which could spell absolute doom for you guys. But then it's also like, well, maybe there is no connection. Maybe that, like, we don't know exactly when the timeline is set in Arcane. Maybe Demacia and Piltover had no interaction, which I think is bullshit and impossible. And I wonder if they had this little Easter egg in there and then they had to remove it because it's like, yeah, of course. Why, if Piltover knows Demacia so well that they're gonna have King Jarvan banners in Piltover, then yeah, why wouldn't they get in touch with them and be like, hey, that empire that you guys have stood against multiple times, yeah, they're trying to take over Piltover. Can you come and send your shield wall, please? We're quite scared. Maybe bring Galio too, because we've got a little magic man chilling. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to this. A little bit strange, yeah? A little bit strange, Gov. Okay, so raised to be a paragon of his nation's greatest virtues, he is forced to balance the heavy expectations placed upon him with his own desire to prove himself on the battlefield. An exceptional warrior, if you've played Jarvan, that's pretty cringe, but an exceptional warrior in his own right. Bro, when you play Jarvan, I put my flag there and I go, wha-chow, and jump over to me flag. Yay, now 1v1 me, I dare you, I double dog dare you to 1v1 me. Alright, an exceptional warrior in his own right, Jarvan also inspires his troops with fearsome courage and selfless determination, raising his family's colours high and revealing his true strength as a future leader of his people. And Yola's aliases are just about him being a prince and a king. The exemplar of Demacia, oh my god. Oh my god, beautiful darling. Oh my god, come on guys. I'm tripping out at this. Yeah, I'm wondering if they're holding back a lot of backstory for these characters now that they might be appearing in Arcane, and they don't want to do the cringe, we're messing with the lore and backstory and history of these core characters that you can just so easily look up online. That's a bit, Oh, he's got a little bit of a meaty biography, this one. A little bit more than the others, so let us read. Which is, so fun, just reading. Oh, it's so fun, I love it. Soon after King Jarvan III's coronation, he addressed the people of Demacia. Even though there were still many foes beyond the borders of their proud kingdom, several of the noble families had begun to feud with one another, some even raising private militias to seek the favour of their new king. This would not stand. Jarvan would not allow such dangerous rivalries to develop, and declaring his intentions to end the feuding by marriage. His bride, the Lady Catherine, was much beloved by the people, and courtly gossip had long held that the two shared some secret fondness for one another. The bells of the great city rang for a day and a night in celebration while they got their schmicky-schmacky on, and by the year's end, the announcement that the royal couple were expecting their first son. But all joy was forgotten when Catherine died in childbirth. Oh, shit. Soz. The infant, named for his father's line, was declared heir apparent to the throne of Demacia. Torn between grief and elation, Jarvan III swore to never take another wife, and that all his hopes and dreams for the kingdom's future would live on in his son. That's pretty risky, brother. With no memory of his mother, the young Prince Jarvan was raised at court, groomed and guarded every moment of his life. Suspicious. The king insisted that he received the finest Demacian education, learning from an early age the moral value of charity and the solemn burden of duty, and the honour of life spent in service to one's people. As he grew, he was also introduced to the history and politics of Valoran by his father's sensual Shinzhao. Ooh. Yeah, boy. Hailing from the distant Ionia. This loyal protector taught the prince about the world's more spiritual philosophies, as well as the myriad arts of war. During his military training, Prince Jarvan found himself facing a brash youth of the Crown Guard's family named Garen. The two were of similar age and became a quick pair. Okay. Jarvan admired Garen's thick muscles and meaty shaft. Sorry, Amanda. I'm just giving Amanda ideas. Sheer determination and fortitude, and Garen looked up to the prince's tactical instincts. I can see it. I can see it already. I can see Amanda salivating at the idea. I'm calling it now. If all of this stuff is in the show, we're going to have some two young men exploring each other's sexuality. And if it's written well, it'll be fine. But I'm sure a lot of people will be frustrated because they'd want to see Garen and Katarina together. But let's see. I'm already slightly concerned. When Jarvan came of age, his father rewarded him with the honorary rank of general. While it was not necessarily explicit that the heir to the throne would take to the field of battle, Jarvan was determined to prove himself, with or without the king's blessing. The lands beyond the Argent Mountains had long been contested by the Empire of Noxus, creating an almost lawless frontier where foreign reavers and warring tribes threatened many of Demacia's allies. The prince pledged to bring stability back to the region. His great-grandfather had been slain by a foul Noxian brute, aka Scion, many years ago. In the first clashes between their nations in the south, now that insult would finally be answered. Jarvan's armies won victory after victory, but the carnage he witnessed in the outlying towns troubled him deeply. When word came that the gates of morning had fallen, he resolved to drive onward into Noxian territory against the advice of his lieutenants. Inevitably, with the battalion spread so thin, Jarvan was encircled and defeated by Noxian warbands before he even reached Travail. Refusing to surrender, the prince and a handful of other survivors fled into the forests, only to be hounded for days by enemy scouts. Eventually, pierced through his side by an arrow, Jarvan collapsed into the shade of a falling tree, where he drifted in and out of consciousness. He was devastated. He had failed his family, his kingdom, and his brothers in arms. Doubtless he would have died there alone, were it not for Shyvana, Dragon Lady. This strange, violet-skinned woman somehow carried Jarvan all the way back to Demacia, to the old castle Renwall, where she proved herself a kind and worthy companion during his days of healing. At first, aback by her outlandish appearance, the garrison commander could not deny that she had done a great service to the throne in saving Jarvan's life. Unfortunately, Shyvana was herself being pursued by the monstrous elemental dragon Yiv. Is that two V's or a W? I'm sorry. Two V's. Yivya. Eva. It's like Wally. When the castle's watchman spotted the beast on the horizon, Jarvan saw a chance to redeem himself. As Shyvana prepared to meet the beast in the skies in her half-dragon form, they just casually, she's half-dragon, by the way. The prince limped from his bed to marshal the garrison and reinforce the walls. He took up his lance and swore that he would return to the great city with the head of Eva, Yiva, or not at all. The battle was swift and deadly. When his men were driven in fear from their posts, it was Jarvan who rallied them. When they were wounded, it was Jarvan who directed healers to their aid. What a great guy. I'm dying, but thankfully me lord, me Prince Jarvan sent for the healers. Oh, he's just a wartime genius. The foul creature was slain. The foul creature? I guess, yeah. No, sure. The foul creature was slain by Shyvana, but it was the prince's leadership that held the line. In that moment, Jarvan saw the true strength of Demacian people, standing together as one in defense of their homeland. No matter their differences or misgivings, he promised Shyvana that she would always have a place among his guard, if she so chose. With the dragon's skull in tow, Jarvan journeyed to... we are getting so much, like, Game of Thrones-y stuff. But I guess it's just, like, normal fantasy stuff, yeah? Pretty straight up and down dark fantasy, except this is, like, not dark. Kind of. Anyway, with the dragon's skull in tow, Jarvan journeyed to his father's court in triumph, Shyvana at his side. Though the king was overcome with emotion at his son's return, some of the gathered nobles quietly questioned the wisdom of allowing such a creature to stand with the prince, let alone serve as one of his protectors. Bro, that's so racist towards half-dragon people. Bro. Even so, Jarvan resumed his position within the military, also playing a key role in stately matters beyond the defense of the realm. With his friend Garen now, sword captain of the elite Dauntless Guard, and Shyvana as the Renwall, veterans training other border garrisons, the prince felt assured that Demacia could answer any emergent threat. But the kingdom itself was changing. Oh my god. The Mage Seeker Order had gained support amongst the noble families, leading to widespread imprisonment of anyone in Demacia possessing magical talents. Fear of persecution quickly gave way to resentment, and finally rebellion. When mages attacked the great city, Jarvan was distraught to discover that his father, the king, had been killed. Oh my god! Although the prince's political stance towards mages has hardened significantly since then, he has yet to fully allay concerns over his suitability to rule. As such, he has taken the counsel of many prominent nobles, including Garen's aunt, High Marshal Tiana Crownguard, and pledged to heed their wisdom and experience for in the days ahead. For he must examine his own conscience and allegiances carefully if he is ever to come into his inheritance and be crowned King Jarvan IV of Demacia. Goodness gracious. Alrighty, Kale. Kale's great, and I hope we get Kale in the show. Before we jump into Kale, though, give me 2 ticks. I'm just going to pop off and mute for just a moment. I shall be right back in 1 minute or 2, perhaps. BRB skis. Alright. OMG skis. Kale. Kale, the divine angel. Surely Surely, Kale will just be so great and fantastic, right, guys? Right, guys? All right. Born to a Targonian aspect at the height of the Rune Wars, a Targonian aspect. Okay. At the height of the Rune Wars, Kael honoured her mother's legacy by fighting for justice on wings of divine flame. She and her twin sister Morgana were the protectors of Demacia for many years, until Kael became disillusioned with the repeated failings of mortals and abandoned this realm altogether. Still, legends are told of her punishing the unjust with her fiery swords, and many hoped that she would one day return. Kael, super fun character to play. Aliases here. The Righteous. Okay. Cool, man. See, look, this is what I'm freaking talking about, man. Look at this. Look at this compared to every other character we've looked at. We've actually got the background here. Event. Like, come on. Appearance, person. Like, what is this, man? Compared to all those other ones, it's like, oh, it's to be decided. We're not sure yet. Guys, this game has been out for like 10 trillion years. Most of these characters have been there since the start of the game. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? Oh, God. Anyway. Kael and her twin sister Morgana were born on Mount Targon during the height of the Rune Wars to Kilam and Mihira, the current aspect of justice. Due to Mihira ascending while pregnant, the sisters were born with a fraction of her celestial powers. As the war raged on, Mihira's celestial power began to overshadow her personality and affections as she dedicated more and more of her time to her duties as an aspect. Fearing what Mihira was becoming, as well as the enemies drawn to her light that could be a threat to her family, his family, Kilam resolved to take the daughters to safety. He fled Targon with his children, and they would sail to the land that would be known as Demacia. The sisters, becoming Demacia's winged protector. The sisters grew to having distinct and clashing personalities, while Morgana was emphasizing the newly arrived While Morgana was empathizing with the new arrived refugees, Kael argued about laws of the settlement because she knew that the laws were meant to protect people. One day, Mihira's swordwood fell from the sky. Are you sure about that? One day, Mihira's sword would fall from the sky and clash into two. From that moment, feathered wings burst from the sisters' backs and remained, confirming their celestial magic would remain inside of them. In that moment, Kael felt more connected to her mother than ever. While Morgana resented her gifts, Kael embraced her new power. One day, the settlement was attacked, and the sisters flew to aid the people of Zephyra. While Kael was busy dealing with the frontline attack, Morgana learned of a hidden wave of enemies. We read all this before, but that's fine. Enemies attacking the city and left the front lines to aid the citizens. After this battle, Kael, for a time, lost trust in her sister for leaving her on the battlefield. Since that day, they were hailed as winged protectors or winged protectors. So, battle with the darkened blade. Oh, Aatrox, I see you. Kael and Morgana put on their armors and helmets and stood against an army before the city walls. They easily destroyed the first wave. Sensing the danger approaching in the skies, the winged protectors took flight without hesitation and engaged in a deadly battle with Aatrox, who managed to possess a new host. Aatrox was too powerful to be defeated physically for the sisters. As the last stand, Morgana left her sword behind and stood against Aatrox, binding him with her chains of dark flame. Taking Morgana's sword, Kael empowered her wings and soared with celestial flames and burned the mortal body of him, sealing Aatrox within his own blade. So, like, that's, as mentioned last stream, the Darken are, like, entities that have been, like, trapped within weapons, and that's all we, guess, really need to know. I doubt we would get any Darken stuff in Arcane. Like, maybe along down the track, but I don't know. Like, I don't think we would. We like, the only potential we would get would be no, because I think the main kind of villain entity in the next show would be the Black Rose. Yeah, probably not. Battle of the Winged Sisters and Departure. Warriors flocked to Kael's banner at Silvermere's Peak, where she founded a Judicator Order to enforce the law, and hunted down rebels and reavers with equal fervour. Kael allowed Morgana to rehabilitate wrongdoers who appeared humble enough to admit their guilt. We've read this before. However, some people in the Judicator Order, especially Ronus, one of Kael's, and then they fight, and then Ronus dies. Deflected the energy. Oh, well, there's a little bit more going on here, actually. So, when Kael returned to the city and found out what happened, she began enraged, and with her power, she summoned divine fire to punish the sinners in the city and Ronus's killer. As Kael's divine fire lit the city from above, Morgana flew up to meet her, giving Kael an ultimatum that if she wants to smite... Oh my god. Look at this, guys. The two jeweled in the sky, each matching the other's... Oops, wrong part, sorry. Morgana flew up to meet her, giving Kael ultimatum that if she wants smite this people... What? Again, I'm not calling out the people that work on this because they're doing it most assuredly for free for the love of the game, but could we please maybe get like an editorial eye to just go through this and fix up some of these little bits and bobs? Morgana flew up to meet her, giving Kael ultimatum that if she wants smite this people, she should start from her sister. Oh my goodness gracious, that's rough. The two jeweled in the sky, each matching the other's terrible blows and striking the buildings beneath them to rubble, and killing innocent people without realize. It seemed that one of them was eventually going to win, but Morgana faltered because she and Kael heard their father's screams and stopped fighting. Their father was mortally wounded. Morgana hurled her sword at Kael through tears and plunged it into the surface like a meteorite to cradle her father. And plunged to the surface. Right. Morgana hurled her sword at Kael through tears and plunged to the surface like a meteorite to cradle her father, destroying all the dinosaurs. That's how the dinosaurs in Runeterra died, guys. It was Morgana, the evil bitch. She took her dying father in her arms, and in a sea of tears, cursed her heavenly inheritance for the destruction around her. A moment later, Kael landed too, and between sobs, Morgana asked if her purification of mortals by smiting included her father. Kael kept silent, grabbed Morgana's sword, and thought about the senseless violence that had overtaken the city this day. Crying because of loss, she soared into the heavens and flew to Mount Targon to find her mother, and swore that she would not allow emotions to dominate her anymore. Journey to Targon Prime. She left Demacia to stand at her mother's side, and to seek for perfect celestial clarity on Targon. Even though she had been absent from Demacia for many centuries, she inspired Demacia's culture, law, and architecture. Many pray to the Protector in times of chaos and hope she might return. Some pray that such a day will never come. Yes. While spending time at Targon Prime, she met Mahira, the current aspect of justice, and her mother. With time spent on Targon, she seemed to become more moderate towards emotions and morality and stopped denying them. Okay. She also continued to ascend herself and fight the world-threatening problems if needed. She also seemed to help some Shuriemans in need of aspect of justice help. Oh, guys. In need of the aspect of justice's help. At some point, she met Rise! Yay, Rise! And spent some time with him, as she calls him her old friend, but the details about it are missing. Cool. Morgana's search of Kael. For centuries, Morgana has tried to find her sister and written down her findings on her journal. I don't know about you, but just thinking about Morgana, writing in a diary is okay. This celestial empowered being with dark magics. I'm just going to write in my journal. Met a cute boy today. Cute Demacian boy called Garen. He spanned so much. It was so hot. A Solari warrior reported a sighting of a winged creature on the peaks of the mountain, ascending higher. A wind mage said that a bright flame streaked through the air, spinning away faster and faster. A Demacian noble was convinced that the winged protector was still alive, so he sent out a rider to track her. After decades, the riders found a single white feather beneath Targon. A Lunari child in the middle of the night said that she saw a winged ghost. Sorry, I was looking at a message that I just got. Flying around the mountain, yet his mother did not believe him. Many centuries passed. Morgana heard a voice, a lonely, so distant prayer. She had no idea where it came from, but she was so sure that it was Kael praying to her. However, her prayers remained unanswered. Yeah, look, I mean, as mentioned, I think if the show wants to do some sister stuff again, except this time instead of dealing with something incredibly grounded, where you've got Vi and Jinx, you could have these two incredibly powerful semi-celestial beings that have their own kind of falling out. I think, I don't know about y'all, but I think visually, her bringing divine justice and flame onto an entire city visually would be pretty incredible. Be pretty awesome in my mind. And then again, I do like the how Kael visually is this divine angelic entity, and Morgana is more this dark-looking, almost demon-looking woman, yet personality-wise, it seems, one is a lot more ferocious, not evil, of course, but more willing to doom mortals than the other. I quite like that. Quite like that as a juxtaposition. Alrighty. We've got Lux. We've got Jinx's future girlfriend. The only reason why Jinx survived Arcane is so she can get onto an airship, go to Demacia, and they can do the light cannon ship. I've said it 100 times now. I'm willing to put money on it. I am quite willing. I'm that confident that is what's going to happen. I'm quite willing to gamble on that. Luxana Crownguard hails from Demacia, an insular realm where magical abilities... we know that. Nonetheless, Lux's optimism and resilience have led her to embrace her unique talents, and she now seeks to bring greater tolerance and understanding to her homeland. The Lady of Luminosity. Radiant Lux, the Unseen Light. Oh, I like that. I like the Unseen Light. That's a cool alias. And look at this, I do declare we've got a background. Good lord. Okay, Lux was born in Demacia, in Silvermere, into the Crown Guard family, one of the richest and most powerful families in the kingdom. After Garen joined the Demacian army, Lux was groomed to be an obedient and helpful person to the Crown Guard family and the royal family, but she was quite a rebellious girl, oh my gosh, who wanted to explore the world and what was outside the walls of Demacia. One night, Lux was riding back home after a long exploration, but at that moment, a pack of wolves ambushed her and her horse with the intention of eating her. When they were about to attack her, Lux, full of fear, unleashed a powerful blast of light, so she did her ulti from her hand. Horrified, Lux realized that she was a mage, the terror of the Demacians and her family. Since then, she did everything she could to hide her powers, for fear of being locked up and moikied. For the next few years, Lux tried to hide her magical powers, afraid of what would happen, thinking that she would turn bad or her family would fall into disgrace. She spent sleepless nights trying to suppress her powers, but then began to familiarize herself with magic, practicing and experimenting in secret, bending the solar rays of the gardens, making them take different solid forms, or making sparkles dance between her fingers. Lux decided that she would keep her powers a secret as long as possible. When she turned 16, Lux was taken to Demacia by her parents to see Garen's ascension into the army. Lux began to study the laws so that over time the world would stop hating magicians like her. There's a pretty good reason for that, babe. It's a pretty freaking good reason. I'm quickly going to scan this because this may literally just be what we read before in the Demacian backstory. Okay, a little bit more there. So, Lux stayed with Garen in Demacia and over time helped him maintain order in the city. However, one day Garen chased a mage girl who was escaping. Garen managed to immobilize her and arrest her, which made Lux very uncomfortable. Lux discovered that the woman had a spellbook, which she used to practice her magic. Realizing the number of confiscated magic books, she decided to use her family's influence to enter the place where all the books were to investigate if anyone could help control their powers. Help her to control her powers. After not having found anything useful, she decided to take a walk around the place, where she found an entrance she did not know. Babe, what are you... I've just entered this building I've never been in before. Wow, here's an entrance I did not know. Yikes. 2 guards tried to stop her, but when she said she was a crown guard... Whoa, this sentence is crazy. Let me just read this to you guys. After not having found anything useful, she decided to take a walk around the place, where she found an entrance she did not know. 2 guards tried to stop her, but she said it was a crown guard and they let her pass. Accompanied by a guard, she discovered that it is the place where they lock up mages. Oof, that's rough, but that's alright. Also, I don't give a shit if you say you're crown guard. You're like 16. You're like a teeny bopper. Bro, what guard is going to let this bratty little teeny bopper say, "Oh, I'm bloody crown guard, darling. You must let me enter this prison." No, ma'am. No, this is a prison, ma'am. Sorry, Sorry, maybe not. She felt quite surprised and at the same time somewhat horrified to learn that she would be sent there if she was discovered, but she went ahead and saw that all the mages were forced to drink a liquid which weakens their powers. Lux asked why they didn't just exile them, but the guard responded by telling her that sometimes exile wasn't enough punishment. As they walked, Lux saw a large door that caught her attention. The guard told him not to enter since Silas of Dragborn was there. Him? Lux? Him? You mean her? The guard told her not to enter since Silas of the Dragborn was there, one of the most dangerous criminals in Demacia. After her powers were discovered, Lux was forced to flee Demacia, but not wanting to go with Silas, she founded her own mages' refuge in which she would shelter mages who did not want to get involved in the civil war. Yeah, I mean, pretty much all of that was just... Oh, Nocturne. Nocturne terrorized Demacian settlements of Frostbarrow until Garen and Lux expelled him from the neighbouring tomb. Nocturne was sealed in the grave of their great-grandfather Phocion, who died during the fight versus him before a young mage named Luca accidentally woke him up. Okay. Hey, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty much, like, most of that was in the Demacian backstory, unfortunately, so we don't really get a huge amount of new information for that. That's alright. So, Morgana, this is Kael's sister. As I said, you know, pretty opposite to Kael's look, who is, like, very divine and angelic. Morgana is more like a evil witch-looking lady, but, hey, don't judge based off looks, guys. Oh my. Oh my mercy. Alrighty, conflicted between her celestial and mortal natures, Morgana bound her wings to embrace humanity and inflicts her pain and bitterness upon the dishonest and the corrupt. She rejects laws and traditions she believes are unjust and fights for the truth from the shadows of Demacia, even as others seek to repress it by casting shields and chains of dark fire. More than anything else, Morgana truly believes that even the banished and outcast may one day rise again. So yeah, Veiled Lady, Fallen, Veiled One, Protector of the Downtrodden, Sword of the Shadow, I like that. Yeah, very cool. I mean, like, look at this compared to, like, look at this compared to King Jarvan the Fourth. The King! Bro, what are we doing? Ay caramba. Alright, I'm going to make a quick coffee. I'm going to turn the kettle on, and then I'll go make it. So you might hear, like, a in the background. My apologies if it's very loud, but it shan't be long. Alright. Let me rid the milk. Let me get that milky mash. And a spoon. And a cup. By the gods. Alright, you can probably already hear that. My apologies. Maybe what we'll do is we won't continue reading whilst the annoying... Yeah, you can probably hear that quite loud, sorry. I'm here in space, you know, I've popped me kettle, gonna make a delicious coffee. Maybe you want to join me for a coffee, depending on what time it is. Me, myself, of course, in a timeless void. It can be anytime, anywhere, any place. So it is coffee time for me. That's gonna help wake me up, help me read more of this goddamn... Look, I mean... Nothing wrong with all the backstories and everything. My real only issue here is that, yeah, the wiki needs, like, an editor's eye. to kind of run through it and just fix up some of these grammatical errors, wrong words, wrong this, wrong that. Riot is a massive company with one of the biggest games in the world. They had the biggest game in the world for like a decade, and they can't hire someone to frickin' just fix up the wiki. Really? All that money y'all are making, and you just can't hire someone to fix up the wiki? Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on! I know it's fan run. I know this is all fan stuff, as I've said a couple times now, but gee willikers. Throw the fans some slack, Riot. Goodness me. Goodness gracious me. But I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed so far with Demacia. It's a little bit cringe. A little bit cringe. There's too much magic in the non-magic place. For my liking. Like, I like Kale and Morgana. You know, that's cool. Silas is interesting, but it's also like, he's the worst criminal in Demacia. And then you look at his backstory and it was just a mistake, and he's not like a bad guy. And it's like, oh, yay. Every villain ever that we get these days. I swear to good God. I swear to good God, Jesus. All right, let me quickly whip this coffee together. I'm not going to mute. I'm just going to yell at you because, you know, you guys, I'm sure you don't mind. I'm sure y'all don't mind me yelling and screaming at you. Well, I put this delicious drink together, I do. God damn declare. But I think easily so far, Noxus has been 10 times more interesting than Demacia, which is super unfortunate. I like the aesthetic of Demacia and a lot of their characters, so it's kind of, yeah, pretty lame. Pretty unfortunate. La-di-da-di-dum. La-di-da-di-dum. All right. You see, even feral undead creatures like me need caffeine every now and then, you know? It's very important. Very important. Oh my. Just, would you look at that? Oh my. Alright. Oh dear. Alright, that is going to be a chichingo, a malingo. Get me a rockin' and rolling. Alright, let's jump back in, shall we? Alright, so I'm going to quickly scan some of these because I can guarantee a lot of them will just be copied and pasted from Kale's because, you know, the kind of core events are the same. Oh, that's bloody delicious, mate. Oh my God, as I've said before, if a coffee is truly delicious, and you don't say what a delicious coffee after you sip it every time, is it even really a coffee? Doubtful. Yeah, so this is just the same from before. That is pretty much the same as before. The Atrix fights. Winged Sisters. Alright, here we go. Life as the Veiled Lady. Over time, Morgana's role as one of the winged protectors of Demacia would fade into obscurity, with few knowing that there were in fact two protectors. Instead, Morgana would become known as the Veiled Lady, or the Veiled One, a deity that Demacians would pray to in order to ensure their loved ones passed safely into the afterlife. Ooh. I wonder how much that might clash with the kindred lamb, right? Interesting. Morgana would walk the realm, embracing mortals and enacting justice when needed. One day, a cleric and his pupil entered the woods to find the Veiled One, for the pupil had erred. After listening to them, the Veiled One chained the sinful cleric for hitting the pupil in front of her eyes and forced him to endure all the shame, suffering, and loneliness he had inflicted on his pupils. One day, she saved two girls from the men with swords. What? That seems like a child wrote that. One day, she saved two girls from the men with swords. Oh, really? Just the two men with swords, eh? Okay. On another day, she saved two girls from the men with swords, asking questions about their village and threatening them. She currently resides in the Sacred Woods outside of Demacia, waiting for the day she is needed again. That's the same as before. Meeting the joy unbound. Neela came to Morgana, bruised and bleeding after the battle with Volibear. I was not expecting to get Volibear in here, but I'm absolutely for it, bro. Love Volibear, man. Love Volibear. Who doesn't love Volibear, the flip master? Morgana welcomed Neela and her crew in her sanctuary, offering them healing for their wounds and much-needed breathing place. The crew confided in the Veiled One and shared their stories and missions. However, their meeting was interrupted all of a sudden. Outcast and imprisoned mages who escaped the ship of Mage Seekers and the followers of the Veiled Lady were under persecution by the Mage Seekers. They were trying to reach the sanctuary, yet one of them got caught. Klaus, the Mage Seeker Inquisitor, ordered his fellows to take ruby-eyed conjurer. What? Okay. Klaus the Mage Seeker Inquisitor ordered his fellows to take ruby-eyed conjurer and the others back to the ship, and then up Mount Targan after the rest of them. Morgana did not waste any time to come to their rescue, and bound the oppressors with her shackles to feel the weight of their sins. Morgana saved and led them to her sanctuary. The Veiled Protector ensured that sanctuary seekers on the slopes of Mount Targan completed their journey unscathed, whereas the Protector was hit by a number of arrows. Morgana might have saved Lisa, one of the outcast mages who lost her family, and she's raising her now. Okay. That's a delicious coffee. Okay. So during the Great Mage Rebellion and Demacian Revolution, when the Rebellion of Mages of Demacia broke out, When the Rebellion of Mages broke out, Silas, one of the most powerful mages of the rebellion, decided to go into the Sacred Woods to find the Veiled Lady in search of power and knowledge for his cause. She told him that he should fight with her as a test to have the knowledge. After the fight, Morgana refused to give Silas the information he was looking for because she saw that in his heart there was only vengeance and hatred. As Silas makes his way to the Veiled Lady's refuge, he reflects on how he failed to save Leilani. When he reaches Morgana, Silas finally understands why he failed her test. His rage and vengeance alone isn't enough to win them this war. Seeing him humbled by his failures, Morgana, satisfied and ready to give Silas her blessing, shows him the true origin of Demacia. Silas realizes Morgana was one of the winged protectors alongside her sister Kael. When he asks why she doesn't reveal herself, Morgana replies that if she returned, so would her sister, and Demacia isn't ready for her judgment. That's actually awesome. Oh, that's sick as. When she presents him with one of her sister's feathers and uses it to grant him her blessing, the ability to show the vision of Demacia's foundation. Now, the people of Demacia know that there were two winged protectors during the foundation of the nation, since Silas showed the vision to common folk. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think Morgana and Kael would be quite cool, even if they're just like background celestial beings, you know, that are like spoken about, tales are told of them. All right. So we have Poppy the Yordle, who is funny as all hell, and we will most assuredly get to why. Runeterra has no shortage of valiant champions, but few are as tenacious as Poppy. Bearing the legendary hammer of Orion, a weapon twice her size, this determined Yordle has spent untold years searching in secret for the fabled hero of Demacia, said to be its rightful wielder. Until then, she dutifully charges into battle, pushing back the kingdom's enemies with every whirling strike. Keeper of the Hammer, the Slayer. Alrighty. Poppy's life had always been marked by a sense of longing for order and alien to her was the chaotic and whimsical nature of the other Yordles in Bandle City. She felt disconnected from the typical Yordle lifestyle, driven instead by an unshakable desire to find her own purpose. Her journey brought her to the human lands of Western Valoran, where she encountered numerous caravans of weary settlers seeking ephemeral hope and stability. But among the many, she saw those who possessed a purpose and were constantly and consistently and disciplined in their pursuit of it. Intrigued by their determination, Poppy saw in them something she could finally admire. People working together to create something greater than themselves by their own hard work, not by magic, and that was marvelous to her. Oh, Orlon, is it? Orlon, not Orion, sorry. Meeting Orlon. And amongst those people, one stood out, a human commander with a powerful, almost magnetic presence, leading his people by example. The man's name was Orlon. Watching him from afar, she saw how he was able to inspire the exhausted and chase away the doubts of the downhearted. He wielded a massive warhammer, but one that he swung with ease and skill. Fascinated by Orlon's leadership and feeling the closeness of their souls for the first time, Poppy decided to introduce herself to him, risking her anonymity and introducing herself to humans for the first time. Although they both had many questions for each other, and their introduction to each other was not easy, an unbreakable bond soon developed between them, and Orlon became Poppy's mentor and guide. She accompanied him to the youngest kingdom of Demacia. She accompanied him to the young kingdom of Demacia, a place where all who were willing to work for the common good were welcomed. In time, Orlon became a beloved hero, admired throughout the fledgling kingdom, but the lives of men are brief. And as he lay on his deathbed, Orlon revealed to Poppy that his hammer had never truly belonged to him. It was meant for the hero of Demacia, the one destined to protect the kingdom from its darkest threats. With a solemn vow to her dying friend, Poppy promised that she would one day find that hero and entrust him with the hammer. And yet, for all her positive qualities, Poppy had always lacked ambition. It had never occurred to her that she might be the hero Orlon had spoken of, which I just think is hilarious, right? And it's such a funny little and cool and nice little character motivation, right? Like, she is this legendary bulwark hero defender. And she's given this legendary weapon by this guy, being like, it was my task to find the hero of Demacia and give them this hammer. Here I am, giving you this hammer. And Poppy's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll totally go and find the hero. Pretty great, pretty funny little backstory there. Poppy continued her search for a hero with unstoppable tenacity. Her quest had been going on for centuries, and more than once she thought she had finally found one worthy of wielding the hammer. Yet each attempt to pass it on ended in failure, often with the would-be hero meeting a tragic fate. In one such attempt, she travelled to a remote corner of Demacia, where the deadly crag beasts had begun terrorising the people. Great warriors from across the kingdom gathered to confront the creatures, and Poppy hoped that one of them might be the hero. Just as she arrived at the fortress, a colossal creature, towering like a mountain, launched its attack. Amid the chaos, a shining knight quickly organised a shelter for the civilians and then charged at the beast, his halberd at the ready, but his weapon shattered on impact. Seeing his courage, Poppy handed him the hammer and he struck again, but this blow had no effect. In one sweeping motion, the beast crushed the knight, and with his last breath, he surrendered. Another failure, another burden of guilt for Poppy. Yet, with this monster still a threat, she stepped forward, driven by her duty. In a fierce battle, she crushed the beast and protected the innocent. With her task complete, Poppy set off again, for her quest remained unfinished. Right? Obviously, she's the hero. Obviously, the hammer is hers, but she is just constantly looking for the hero to claim it or to be given it. It's funny. And I think there could, if you write it quite well, it could have quite an impactful moment or moments in a show. Lulu and Tristana. Poppy knows about the existence of Lulu and Tristana, though it's uncertain what she thinks about them. Well, of course she does. She knows about Bandle City, right? Lulu states that, and she was there with the other Yordles. Sorry, I just hit the microphone, sorry. Lulu states that Poppy and Tristana had a little furrow just above her nose when she gets mad. During the Black Mist attacked by Vago on a Demacian city, Vayne and Poppy fought off side by side the undead army. Cool. Cool, man. I think Poppy would make a great character. If they are included in the show, bro. All right. Have a quick sip of caffeine. Oh, man. That's quite tasty. Oh, my. All right. Sponsored by the noble Bouvel family, Quinn is a ranger knight of Demacia who undertakes dangerous missions deep in enemy territory. She and her legendary eagle Valar share an unbreakable bond, and their foes are often slain before they realize they are fighting not one, but two of the kingdom's greatest heroes. Nimble and acrobatic, Quinn takes aim with her crossbow, while Valar marks her elusive targets from above, making them a deadly pair on the battlefield. Demacia's wings. Okay, very cool. Quinn and her twin brother Caleb were born in Uwendale, to a weaponsmith and ranger. When King Jarvan III visited the village, they were impressed by the knights and their shining armour and began to imitate them. Their father supported them in their endeavours, but as they grew older, the children took after their mother and spent time ranging in the wilds. As a young adult, Quinn and her brother were a formidable team of rangers, proficient in tracking and hunting prey. Quinn used a bow, while Caleb used a spear. Quinn and Caleb were hired to accompany a hunting party of nobles from the capital. The nobles hunted a giant tuskvor, but did not manage to kill it. The wounded beast turned on the hunters, and the twins intervened. As they drove off the creature, it killed Caleb. The leader of their nobles, Lord Barrett Bouval, helped Quinn bury her brother, who saved their life. The death of Caleb broke Quinn. She couldn't focus on her tasks and would often mistake the wilderness for and would often make mistakes in the wilderness. A few months after the incident, Lady Lestara Bouval visited Quinn's family and asked what her house could do for the grieving family. Quinn did not have an answer for her. She politely thanked her for her offer and turned away. 1 year after Caleb's death, Quinn returned to his grave as she often did. Due to her carelessness, she was taken by surprise when a tuskvor attacked her. She noticed it was the same beast that killed her brother, from the eye he took out before his death. Quinn fought the tuskvor, but found that she couldn't win. Just as it was about to kill her too, an azurite eagle swooped in and distracted the creature. With this help, Quinn managed to kill the tuskvor. Oh my. She nursed the wounded bird back to health and named it Valor. The connection she felt with the eagle helped Quinn, and she once again contemplated how to serve Demacia. With help from her father, she crafted her repeater crossbow and journeyed to the capital to become a ranger knight. At the funeral of Lord Barrett Bouval, Quinn spoke with his widow Lestara Bouval. Lestara expressed her gratitude for saving his life 2 years ago and asked again how she could repay him. How she could repay Quinn. Quinn hesitated at first, then asked Lady Bouval to sponsor her for knighthood. Lestara agreed and spoke with Tiana Crownguard, and Quinn became a ranger knight in the same week. As a ranger knight, Quinn served in the Demacian military with her companion Valar. She has travelled across Runeterra in her missions, including the Freljord and the Noxian-held territories. In late autumn of 966, Quinn received orders from Tiana Crownguard. She met with Garen and a detachment of the Dauntless Vanguard and escorted them to Knockmerk. But was distracted by a burnt cabin in the woods. What? There she met up with Green Fang Warden Dalen and decided to pursue the attackers. They tracked the group to the eastern border, where Quinn confronted them. She learned that the widow and her child who lived in the cabin were not abducted, but she willingly returned to Skagorn with her brother. It was forbidden to leave the country due to the ongoing rebellion, but the group knew of a secret passage unknown to Demacian guards. Quinn decided to let them go, ordering Dalen to stand down. She then told him to ensure a watchtower was built so that this could not happen again, and ran off to make her original assignment. Whew. Oh my mercy, that was hot. Oh god. The coffee, not the backstory. After running through the forest for multiple days and nights, Quinn met with the Dauntless Vanguard and boarded the ship Stormbright. As a ranger, it was her duty to scout ahead and make sure the environment was safe. She was the one to discover a fortified bridge spanning the ravine between Rainland and Olderburg, and later discovered the Noxian army nearby. She rushed back to Olderburg to alert Garen, and they left with the vanguard. Quinn was supposed to make it back to Demacia and alert them, but she was wounded while trying to open the gates of the bridge for the trapped soldiers. Valor, despite also being wounded, made it out and managed to lead the Silverwing riders to the trapped Demacians. Quinn and the survivors then made it back to the great city to recover from their wounds. Okay. Alright. Pretty basic. Not a lot really going there, except the death of her brother. And Shyvana, Dragon Lady. Alright. Shyvana is a creature with pure elemental magic blazing in her heart. Though she often appears humanoid, she can take her true form when necessary, that of a fearless dragon, incinerating her foes with fiery breath. Having saved the life of the Crown Prince Jarvan IV, Shyvana now serves uneasily in his royal guard, struggling to find acceptance among the suspicious people of Demacia. Let me just quickly check one thing before we continue. Just one quick thing, Yeah, cool. All right. Shyvana was born to Eva, a powerful... Oh! Okay, so the thing that she fought to the death with King Jarvan is, like, her mummy or daddy. Okay. Prior to hatching, her egg was captured by a mage, and Eva could not get it back. The mage kept the egg and hatched it, but instead of being born as a baby dragon, Shyvana was born as a human with unnatural pale blue skin. The mage grew fond of the little girl and decided to raise her as his daughter in secret. As Shyvana grew, she discovered more and more of her latent abilities. The mage did everything he could to help her control her budding draconic magic, and by her adolescence, she was able to transform between her human form and that of a powerful dragon at will. Yiva, or Yiva, or Wyva, or Yaya, who had a psychic connection with her daughter, managed to track her down. In her rage, she burned down the entire town Shyvana called home. Shyvana hid amongst some ruins, watching helplessly as her mother rained fire from above. The mage himself did not escape the flames. Shyvana watched on as he succumbed to the inferno, and when her mother was finished, she came out of hiding, retrieved his charred corpse, and gave him a simple burial. She mourned her once captor turned adoptive father, slain by her very mother, alone. Fearful that her mother might return, Shyvana took to living on the move, never staying in the same place twice. One day, wandering through a forest, she picked up on an aroma of fresh human blood among the scent of the trees and fauna. Following her nose, she found a wounded warrior on the verge of death. Transforming into her draconic form, she took the unconscious man to Renwall Castle, saving his life. There, she found out this man was none other than Prince Jarvan IV, sole son, heir apparent to the throne of Demacia. The soldiers of the castle looked upon Shyvana with disgust because of her magical nature, but for her valor in saving the prince, she was treated with respect. She would later reflect that her time spent there was the most serene time of her life. However, serenity never lasts, and in her peace, Shyvana had forgotten her pursuer. Yiva found her there. Among the Demacians, and Shyvana... Found her there among the Demacians, and Shyvana knew what would surely follow. The soldiers quickly sent the civilians inside the fortress to protect them, and knowing her mother's quarry was with her alone, Shyvana prepared to flee. Prince Jarvan intercepted Shyvana's attempt to escape, forcing the half-dragon to tearfully tell him the truth. This dragon was none other than her mother, and so long as Shyvana herself was here, both him and his people were in danger. Jarvan, never having forgotten the kindness Shyvana had shown him by saving his life, swore that he would never abandon her, nor allow her to face her mother alone. Moved, Shyvana accepted the offer of aid and prepared to face Yiva with the might of Demacia by her side. As Yiva appeared on the horizon, the castle archers began distracting her with arrows. She sprayed a burst of fire into the castle in retaliation, heavily wounding the archer line. Just as she let her guard down, Shyvana sprinted out of the palace and leapt into the air, transforming into dragon mid-flight. Shyvana and Yiva fought a fierce and gruesome battle. Shyvana had never used her abilities in such a way before, remembering the people she was protecting and those who were hurt protecting her. Shyvana grabbed her mother's head and broke Yiva's neck on the castle wall, closing the battle. Yuff. Following the confrontation with her mother, Prince Jarvan IV honoured Shyvana's bravery and asked whether she would join him to Demacia proper. Shyvana wholeheartedly accepted, though Shyvana was afraid that she would be distrusted due to her nature. These provided to be unfounded. The people of Demacia welcomed her as a hero, and Prince Jarvan offered her a place within the elite group known as the Dragon Guard, so she might protect the land from other dangerous dragons like Yiva. Oh my. During the Rebellion of Mages, Jarvan confronted Silas. The two had an arduous battle, and Silas nearly bested the prince, but just before Silas could finish the job, Shyvana descended from the skies and disrupted the battle, prepared to honour her role as Dragon Guard. Silas faced the two of them, and a fierce fight ensued. A furious Shyvana implored Jarvan to withdraw, and, trusting her judgment, he listened. With the prince out of the way, Shyvana was free to transform into her draconic form, ready to crush Silas once and for all, but she underestimated the Kingslayer and bested her. Wounded, she reverted to her human form and plummeted to the ground. Silas moved in for the kill, and Prince Jarvan intercepted him. What? These two are fighting, and then Shyvana comes in and saves the day, and then is like, you gotta go. So Jarvan's like, yeah, I'm going, and then these two fight, and then, she's about to lose, and then, haha, I'm here now. All right. Risking his own life to protect not merely a guard, not merely a woman, but a being of pure magic. Quick on the uptake, Silas noted their connection and accused the crown prince of hypocrisy. While Silas rotted in prison for his magic because you murdered accidentally, sure, but people don't know that. You killed people, brother. The prince had fallen in love with a being composed of it. Seeing how injured his opponents were, Silas once again moved in to kill Jarvan, but Shyvana with what force she could possess, with what forces she could still possessed, with what forces she still possessed, conjured a circle of flame around the two of them, cutting Silas off. In the end, Silas had no choice but to flee, but not before swearing that he would kill the prince and his beloved dragon. Slipping into unconsciousness, Shyvana collapsed into Jarvan's arms. Oh, that's so romantic. Oh my god. Following the battle, Shyvana had no choice but to leave Demacia due to the countless rules against wizards and magical beings. As he once had, Jarvan tried to convince her not to leave, and she suggested that they leave together and start a new life. He told her what she already knew. He couldn't do it. Before she left, she implored him not to allow his father's ruthlessness to pass on to the kingdom Jarvan would rule, but Jarvan told her it was too late for that. With a sad smile, she replied that no transformation lasts forever, and wished him good luck. She then jumped from the castle tower, and assuming draconic form, flew away from the castle, though perhaps never too far. After Jarvan disbanded the Mage Seekers, Shyvana is seen returning from the horizon, finally free to come home. I like that. I think that would be cool. I'm not sure how you could interweave that, but I think that would be quite a cool character, a kind of little storyline to have going on, you know? You know, bro. Alright, so we got left? Sonya, Silas, Vayne, and Jin Zhao. Oh, thank you very much. Ringy76, thank you so much for the subscription. I appreciate it, absolutely. Now, just quickly, before we jump into these last fine folky wokies here, I'm going to pop for 2 ticks, 2 shakes of a lamb feather. I will BRB, 1 moment. Alright. It took one time for me to take a bite of food unmuted to never ever do that again. If you wonder why I keep muting. Yeah. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for that. I'll never forgive you. Delicious, yummy coffee. Alright, Sona. Probably Sona, because it's music. Audible. I've always called her Sonya. Don't know why. Don't ask me. So if I say Sonya and you're like, Media Ghoul, it's Sona, you know, like the Audible friggin' thing, bro. Soz, that's just how my mouth works. Soz about it. All right. Sonya is a virtuoso with a stringed Etwal. Speaking only through her graceful chords and vibrant arise. Her gentile, is she Jewish? What the hell? Her gentle manner has endured her to the Demacian nobility, though some speculate her arresting melodies actually emanate magic, a dangerous prospect in the kingdom. Silent to outsiders, but understood easily enough by close companions, Sonia plucks her harmonies not only to soothe injured allies, but also strike down unsuspecting enemies. The Maven of Strings, Demacian Virtuoso. Okay. Oh, she don't got much meat on her potatoes, mate. That's for sure. Gee whiz. Alright. Sonia was left in a monastery as an infant in the Ionian province of Galrin. No other clue to her origins is known, besides a mysterious magical instrument that was delivered with her. She has a close relationship with other children on the monastery, as they would seek comfort with her. She was moved to Demacia with other children when Noxus started its invasion on Ionia around 985 AN. She was eventually adopted into the Bouvel noble house, who were art patrons of the nation because they took interest in her musical abilities. Some years later, around the year 990 AN, her adoptive father was killed in the Battle of the Gates of Mourning. The family mourned, so Lestra took Sonia back to Ionia so she could understand more of herself. At some point, Sonia would aid Rise against the Navari Brotherhood so he could gather a world rune. That's an important stuff. When Sonia perceived the animosity and disunion that struck the First Lands, she decided that was no place for her. In Ionia anymore, and she went back to Demacia with her mother. Wow. Super freaking deep, man. Okay. So yeah, basically, like, support, healer, plays music. Not a lot going on with her, but that is okay. Leaves room for development later. Alright, so Silas, we are going to just check before reading and spending time whether or not this is all just the same stuff that we read before. So, raised in one of Demacia's lesser quarters, Silas of Dregborn has come to symbolize the darker side of the great city. As a boy, his ability to root out hidden sorcery caught the attention of the notorious mage seekers, who eventually imprisoned him for turning those same powers against them. Having now broken free, Silas lives as a hardened revolutionary, using the magic of those around him to destroy the kingdom he once served, and his band of outcast mage followers seemed to grow by the day. Okay, so this just adds a little bit to what we read before, so we'll go through. Silas of Dregborn was born in Demacia, where he developed magical abilities at a young age. As per the typical Demacian belief that magic was an affliction, Silas's parents convinced him to turn himself into the Mage Seekers. The Mage Seekers took notice of Silas's ability to sense magic within people, so they used his power to identify the mages within the city. But Silas began to notice the prominence of mages living their lives as civilians, having to live with being labelled as criminals by Demacian society, which caused him to doubt his standing within Demacia. One day, Silas and his mage seeker handlers found a young mage in the countryside, forced to live in hiding to avoid persecution. Silas took pity on her due to being so young, so he tried to protect her from the handers. Yeah, we've read that before. He accidentally brushed against her skin and went, like he accidentally touched this young girl around the same age as her, and it was the first time he'd ever, like, touched a girl before, so he got all excited, and he unleashed his his magical abilities, and killed everybody. Okay. Okay, so as we read before, Lux finds him in prison, but this is a little bit of an interesting one here. One of the books Silas received was Galio's Blueprint by Durand, where he learned about the true properties of petricite and how it did not nullify magic, but accumulate it until it reached its breaking point, right? It's also an interesting thing there, right? Like, if Galio is basically, like, he comes alive with all of this magical ability around him to, like, strike down mages and protect Demacia, etc., etc. Is Silas able to, like, touch Galio and sap some of that ability? Almost like nullifying him? I don't know. Just quickly going through, because again, we're just reading the same stuff over and over. So, freed from the authorities, Silas used his magic powers to destroy the Mage Seeker compound and free the imprisoned mages to start a revolution against Demacia for their prosecution of mages. He led them to a royal castle and captured King Jarvan III and publicly humiliated him, but to his surprise, the king had already been killed before he arrived. His son, Prince Jarvan IV, blamed Silas and the mages for causing the death of his father, while Silas decided to humiliate him instead. Silas tied Jarvan to a chair and forced him to eat a rat to reflect the terrible conditions experienced by prisoners of the compound. But Lux came to stop him, with her magic suppressed after drinking a petricite mixture. She shot a crossbow at Silas and stabbed him in the foot before releasing Jarvan. Okay. Silas teamed up with the Winter Claw to fight against Garen and his sister Lux, as well as the Demacian soldiers. Silas and his allies... this is that trailer. This is from one of the trailers, right? I remember. It's from the cinematic. I remember. Okay. Okay. Not a huge amount more going on there, really. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Shuana Vane is a deadly, remorseless Demacian monster hunter who has dedicated her life to finding and destroying the demon that murdered her family. What's the demon? Evelyn. Oh! Cool. Armed with a wrist-mounted crossbow and a heart full of vengeance, she is only truly happy when slaying practitioners or creations of the dark arts, striking from the shadows with a flurry of silver bolts. I played a lot of Vayne. I just loved the passive, the build-up of the 3 silver bolts just cracking a huge amount of damage on people. It's so much fun. All right. Alrighty, tatey, y'all. Shuana Vane was born to House Vane, a wealthy, noble family in Demacia. She experienced a privileged childhood, being able to enjoy solitary pursuits such as reading, learning music, and collecting insects. What a nerd! Ha! Nerd! Shortly after her 16th birthday, Vane would return to home to find her parents dead, killed by a horned demon. The people of Demacia found it inconceivable that a demon would be able to slip past their defences and murder her parents. But Vane knew better. Driven by her parents' death, Vane would seek out a mentor, someone who would teach her how to combat the forces of darkness. She would travel to the Freljord to search for her teacher. Learning of the Ice-born warriors who battled the Ice Witch, Lysandra, who battled the Ice Witch from the stories her parents used to tell her. While traversing the frozen tundra, Vane would be trapped by a ravenous ice troll. As the troll prepared to consume the young aristocrat, he would fall dead to a spear of a grizzled, middle-aged woman. She introduced herself as Frey and bandaged Vane's wounds. Frey explained that she dedicated her life to fighting the Ice Witch's forces after they killed her children, and Vane implored her to take her on as a student. Determined that an aristocrat wouldn't have the resolve to fight against the forces of darkness, she refused, but Vane would not take no for an answer. Vane challenged the Freljordian to a duel. If she won, Frey would have to train her, and if she lost, she would offer herself as bait for the Ice Queen's minions. Seeing Vane's determination, Frey would agree to train her, and the two would return to Demacia. Vane would spend the next several years training and hunting with Frey, growing closer with her mentor, and eventually seeing her as a maternal figure. However, she was suspicious as to how her teacher had such an in-depth understanding of dark magics. Oh, that's sus. They would frequently travel outside of Demacia to hunt their prey, and tales of their valor would spread across Valoran. One day, they would catch a rumour of the horned demon that had slayed Vane's parents. She had established a cult designed to do her bidding and lure more victims. As they tracked down the demon to her lair, Vane felt fear that she would lose her mother figure again. Before she could express her concerns, they would be ambushed by one of the cultists. Injuring Vane, in order to protect her, Frey transformed into a Freljordian wolf and tore the priest's throat with a single bite. Frey quickly returned to her human form and tried to explain that she had become a shaman to combat the Ice Witch, but Vane fired a bolt through her heart, and any affection she felt died with her. Awesome! Awesome! That's freaking excellent. Love that. Awesome. Vane now resumes her hunt for the demon that killed her parents, as well as any other monsters that prey upon Runeterra. Excellent. What a great little story. Great little character backstory. So monster hunting. Vane would take a job from a woman in Demacia. Her husband had become a monster that attacks the countryside. After tracking him down, she would put him out of his misery and take his body back to the wife. Vane confronted the woman, revealing that she knows that she is a Therian, and transformed her husband in an attempt to devour him. Vane swiftly dispatched the shape changer and avenged the man. All right. Vane was present at the great city of Demacia when Vago unleashed harrowings across Runeterra, which that alone, the Blessed Isles to the Shadow Isles, love to see a Fortiche animated show based around that. That would be friggin' awesome. She helped repel the army of wraiths alongside Poppy and discovered a mysterious crest belonging to the Sentinels of Light. A few weeks later, Demacia would be sieged by another harrowing. Vane took shelter in the Singing Swan Tavern and encountered Gwen, Lucian, Senna, and a Sentinel rookie seeking more information about the origin of the harrowing. The Sentinels discovered that the harrowing was focused around the Mage Seeker compound, and Vayne accompanied them to the epicenter of the attack. At the entrance, they would be met by Shyvana, afflicted by the Black Mist. Oh, that's why you've got the other version of Shyvana. Gotcha, yeah. And the half-dragon would attempt to bury them beneath the rubble. The group frees themselves and venture further into the compound. Vago secures the artifact guarded by the Mage Seekers, and they give chase to the ruined king. As they cornered him, Shyvana returns and attacks, transforming into a ruined dragon at Vayne's provocation. They eventually managed to best Shyvana, but Vago escaped with the artifact. As Vayne prepares to execute Shyvana, Senna convinces her not to, and they agree to lock her up in the Mage Seeker dungeons. Seeing how ineffective her silver weapons were against the Black Mist, Vayne offers to join the Sentinels. Ineffective. In exchange for reliquary... Oh, I gotcha. In exchange for reliquaries, right. They return to the headquarters, and Vayne is sworn into their ranks and outfitted with a new uniform and relic crossbow. Siak. Oh, yummy. Vayne accompanies the Sentinels as they race across Runeterra, trying to stop Vago from securing more fetters. Along the way, the Sentinels would recruit Malcolm Graves. I love Graves. Vayne's no-nonsense attitude would garner Graves' respect, and to Vayne's dismay, friendship. Eventually, the Sentinels of Light would prepare their final stand against Vago on the Shadow Isles. Vayne and other Sentinels battled Karma, Misfortune, Pantheon, Shyvana, and their army of Wraiths, while Akshan, Gwen, Senna, and the Rookie would defeat Vago in Carnivore. With the ruined king defeated, most of the Sentinels opted to return to their old lives, but Vayne agreed to take up their post in Demacia, while Lucian and Senna hunted Thresh, recently unbound from the Shadow Isles. Ooh, spooky ghosts. Cool, man. Yeah, I mean... if they wanted to do like a Monster Hunter arc, or maybe if they ever did Vayne, that would be like a way to, I guess, like introduce the Shadow Isles to the audience that might not know about it. Introduce the idea of like the undead and undying. Let's see. We shall see. Jin Zhao is a resolute warrior, loyal to the royal family of Demacia. Once condemned to the fighting pits of Noxus, he survived countless gladiatorial bouts. It was not until he faced the forces of King Jarvan III in battle that he decided to relinquish his past life in favour of serving what he saw as a more honourable cause. Armed with his favoured 3-talon spear, Jin Zhao now fights for his adopted kingdom, audaciously challenging any foe, no matter the odds. All right. Life as a reckoner. Jin Zhao was born in Ionia, raised on a fisherman's ship named Viscero. One day they ended up crossing into the waters of Noxus, where a Noxian ship captured them and took them to Noxus. Unfamiliar with this new land, Jin Zhao rose the ranks with his expert spearmanship, so Noxus offered him a chance to live a better life. He reluctantly accepted and entered the arenas of the Reckoners and took the name Viscero after his first home. Viscero was a famous warrior amongst the arena, with the crowds cheering for the carnage he inflicted while the other Reckoners grew to fear him. But eventually, Borum Darkwill made a decree to privately free Noxian mercenaries, prisoners, or Reckoners, Jin Zhao included, to send them to fight for Noxus and other nations. Jin Zhao was transported to Demacia, where he faced against many Demacian soldiers. Most of his fellow reckoners ran away, but Jin Zhao refused to give up. When he was confronted by soldiers, he welcomed them to execute him, but he was instead spared and imprisoned. At the request, Jin Zhao was taken to meet their king, Javan III. Oh, yeah. While his guard Tiana reportedly threatened him, Javan III was more easygoing and listened to him. After their conversation, he offered Jin Zhao a bag of money to go back to his real home, but since Demacia had shown him the true meaning of the ideals he strove for, he wanted to join his guard, to Tiana's shock. He asked how Jin Zhao could prove he was capable. So he snatched a guard's spear and fought off the guards before pointing the spear at the king's throat. He apologized and prepared to get killed, but Javan III forgave him and accepted him into his ranks. Tiana was still distrustful of him, but Jin Zhao swore an oath to her that if something happened to Javan III, she would kill him by her own hands. Jin Zhao grew to become very close friends with Javan III, even being adopted into the Light Shield family, and taught Prince Javan IV to raise him into an honourable king. He believed that Demacia was where he truly belonged, serving them not for duty, but for his own choice. How is his appearance meant TBA, bro? His appearance is right here. Like, you have 4 pictures of him. Oh, but we don't know what he looks like. Sorry, guys. He's been in the game for 20 fucking years, but we don't know what he looks like, guys. Okay. One day, Javan III sent Jin Zhao on a mission of critical importance, so he left. By the time he got back, a mage rebellion led by Silas the Dragborn broke out, and Javan III had been killed. Jin Zhao felt a huge guilt for his mistake, believing it was his own fault. His own fault. Javan III died. Javan IV requested Jin Zhao for a training spa, where he vented all of his grief and anger towards Jin Zhao for leaving his father to die. When Javan IV broke down in tears for the loss of his father, Jin Zhao comforted him. Afterwards, Javan IV told Jin Zhao to burn the letter he was meant to deliver, as it was a request for Javan III to the leader of the Mage Seekers to be more accepting of mages. But since Javan IV grew to hate mages due to believing Silas and his mages to have killed his father, Jin Zhao reluctantly followed the prince's request and burned the letter, accepting what was to come. Which I think pretty interesting world building wise, right? Because you've got from Noxus, you've got Swain sending Katarina to assassinate the king, and then you've got like Javan IV thinking that Silas was the one that did it, and like causing this massive civil war, infighting, like the downfall of Demacia. Swain was like able to achieve by like barely lifting a finger, right? Like that is strength. Like that is some pretty major strength, man. And that's also when I say, like, Noxus, brings the downfall of empires not just through violence, but through plotting and scheming and, like, the Black Rose schemes. Yeah, like, they're pretty crazy. With all the civil unrest in Demacia, Jin Zhao was needed more than ever, but Javan IV forced to take the mantle as king. Jin Zhao swore his loyalty to him and promised to guide him for the days to come. Well, that is Demacia, really, guys. As mentioned, we're just going to go through the history, the major points, and then the characters, little backstories. And then, yeah, next stream, what we will do is we will cover off Ionia, and then we've got all 3 locations basically covered off for the upcoming show. And as I said last stream, as we saw in Arcane Season 2, it is not like the writers are going to follow the lore and the backstory and background for characters to a T. They're more than happy to change things around, and then Riot will just change the lore to fit. Which is quite potentially why a lot of these characters have very bare bones backstories. But a couple great little stories in there, though, that I would like to see. Might be quite difficult, though, because again, like it's one of those things where, like, Arcane's best moments was when it was dealing with interpersonal relationships between characters, when it was incredibly grounded and focused on small decisions, or seemingly small decisions that basically would cascade and change the world around them. The simple decision that Powder made as a child changed Zorn pretty immensely. And then her character, of course, changed immensely. Again, like little things like that. But when you got like Kael and Morgana, and you've got, the Beast Hunters, and you got Demons, and you got Shyvana, the Dragon, like you've got all of these crazy, crazy things going on. Would be interesting to see how they deal with all of that. But yeah, look, guys, that was the plan for the stream today. I wish I could go all day and start reading into Ionia, but unfortunately, whilst in this timeless void, I just don't have the time. I'm so sorry. But I do want to quickly say, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, hit the 500 subbies. If you don't know, you've got 2 kind of tiers when it comes to YouTube. You've got the first tier of 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours, and the second tier of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to basically like monetize your channel and make it like official and all of that sort of stuff. And I just have to thank you all so much. You guys have been fantastic. Past the first stage, as in got the big tick from YouTube last week. So you should start seeing the ability to join the channel as a member, do super chats and stickers and thanks and all of that sort of stuff. So look, I'm not going to sit here and say, give me your friggin' money, all right? This is a hold up. Yeah, you better empty your pockets, right? All I'm going to say is that if there is ever a point where you want to, either support the channel, you're obviously more than welcome to do it that way, and then one day I'll see the money to be able to support the channel. Or if you want shout-outs in my videos, then yeah, consider becoming a member. I'll shout out all my members at the end of every video, probably vocally at first with some images. And the way that I want to work the memberships is, as the channel grows, I want to be able to extend more benefits there. So like maybe some member-only videos or something like that. I've chucked some legal or arcane-related emotes onto the channel. So if you did become a member, you can unlock little arcane-related emotes to put in the chats. Oh my god, how kawaii! Right, guys? How kawaii! And I guess as a bit of a quick update on the channel, next video that will be coming out will be the Arcane Arcane Episode 9 breakdown, which will be the finale. I'm writing that out at the moment, and we'll record and edit over the next few days, and hopefully can get that out by, say, like Wednesday, Thursday. So you'll have that to chew on. I've also been rewatching all of Stranger Things. Oh, I'm running up that road, running up that hill, with no road. Bro, oh my god, the worst. So I'll either do a video or even a stream, like put together a PowerPoint cringe point for you guys to go over each season. Because, man, what a shame that show is. My goodness, Season 1 was so good. Season 1 was such a good show. And then Season 2 got a little bit rocky, you know? And there was literally an entire wasted episode to the bloody punks that taught Eleven a lesson that any character that was already established could have taught her, and kind of like turned Eleven into a little punk piece of shit. And then turns out by Season 4, she has to relearn that same lesson, or I guess continuity-wise, she already knew that, but she had forgotten, and then she learnt that lesson, but then she didn't remember that she had already learnt that lesson, and that memory, because of trauma, was just shunted aside. Interesting thing, though, I will say, I did not, on my first watch, when it came out, I wasn't really fond of Season 3. I thought it was not that great. On rewatch, though, I kind of changed my mind on it. I still don't like all the Russia stuff. It is just very over the top. Like, one of the things I liked about Season 1, as fantastical and as bonkers as Season 1. I mean, you're dealing with, like, multiple dimensions and monsters and the secret government organization, telekinesis, you've got all these fantastical elements. It still felt incredibly grounded because of the characters and the writing and, dealing with, you've got a telekinetic girl, but then you're dealing with, like, a crush that these kids have, right? So even as fantastical as it got, it still felt very grounded. And then the stuff in Season 3 with Russia, like, building a massive underground facility under a town, and no one knows or figures out, like, that's just absolute nonsensical bullshit, right? It kind of started to lose its bearing on that element, but I actually ended up really liking the, the invasion of the body snatchers and the Thing elements to Season 3. And really liked the characters a bit more than I did when I watched it a few years ago when it first came out. Which, I thought was good, refreshing, actually. I was, like, preparing to hate the season on my rewatch, but I actually didn't really hate it. But then Season 4 has been an absolute slog. Oh my good golly, Season 4 has been, like, pulling teeth. I'm up to the finale, and it's like 10,000 hours long. So I'm going to have to push through that. I'm going to have to push through it. Like when Vector was getting Max. And then it was friggin' oh, bro. Vecna is like the cringest, shittest villain I've seen in so long. Vecna was so cringe, man. Actually, I was a child and I was misunderstood. Oh, I just love spiders. And I hate the fact that he's like, oh, I just believed I had magical telekinetic abilities, and now I guess I do, brother. Like, what the hell? Like, it made quote-unquote sense for Eleven because she escaped from a secretive government organization that had probably birthed and been testing this kind of stuff out on how many children, we don't know, until, of course, Season 4 puts an answer to that. So cringe, man, so cringe. Oh, I've got this magical microchip in me neck that makes me not able to do me magic ability. Right, I hate it. It's so shit. It's so bad, man. Like, the only saving grace for me is what's-his-face. God, I don't even care about these characters anymore, so I forget his name. The D&D guy that was introduced for season 4, and he plays Metallica. Stranger Things 4 characters. Eddie friggin' Munson, bro. Like, it's alright. That's something, Yeah, sorry if you liked it, but season 1, like, the best, and then it's probably season 3, and then 2, and then 4 is, like, miserable. And then also, live stream-wise, after we do the Ionia stream, I would like to explore some, like, online horror, because I do love me some horror, and I've heard that there are some pretty good YouTube channels that are dedicated to creating, like, analog horror stories, and I just think that would be, like, a fun little stream, more like a reactionary one. We'll have the videos playing, and we'll be talking about them and going, ooh, that's friggin' spooky. Another one that I'll also be thinking of doing is talking about the Nosferatu movie. But I don't really have a lot to say about it, so I'm kind of hesitant about that. Like, I love the writer and director. I've loved everything, all 3 movies that he's made. This one was just a bit of a, I feel like you should go, like, film some porn, if that's what Anyway, guys. Thank you very much for jumping in. I know, again, it's not like a massive bloody 8-hour stream. I just simply am unable to do that at the moment. Though, as mentioned, I still want to try my best to do at least 1 stream a week for you guys. So here we are. We're talking about Demacia. I hope anything in there was interesting. I maybe had 2 moments in the last 3 hours where I was like, ooh, that'd be interesting, governor. Wow, Demacia, that's quite cool. The rest has just been kind of like, okay. Alright, you're anti-magic guys and you got mages everywhere. Okay, and then there's a civil war. And it's like, what's going on? Kale, baby, why don't you come and, like, just like, set fire to everybody? Okay. Alrighty. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Thanks again for getting me past 500 subscribers and the watch time and everything like that. Awesome. Again, I made the channel late last year. I didn't even think I'd be at 100 subscribers yet, let alone over 500. So, hey, I guess here's to 600 and then to 1,000. Hey, yeah, yahoo. Anyway, thank you very much, and I see you all in the next video.